I snooped on my brother and found something horrifying. I just found something pretty disturbing, and I'm not really sure what to do next. My brother is usually a super private person and doesn't hand out his phone to anyone. We are currently on a family vacation overseas, and he is the only one with a working data plan. So we've been using his phone quite a bit. His open web tab was on a popular fiction website, and I saw his logged in username before he swapped tabs to a new one. I frequent the site as well, and when back in the Airbnb, went to check his profile to see if he too ran in the same fandoms as me. I must admit that this situation is entirely my fault as I snooped. I know I shouldn't have, but I was so curious. To my surprise, he had a few published works, but when I opened one, I almost puked. His latest story was of a brother violently R-wording his sister in graphic detail, who had the same first name and general description as me, in a setting I recognized as my parents' house. He insulted my eldest sibling and also my parents in horrible ways as well. I won't go into any further detail, but suffice to say, it was the single most horrifying thing I've ever read. Ever. Now I'm in the bathroom with this Airbnb typing this, and I'm not sure how I'm going to go out and face my family. Should I just ignore this? Is this normal, and am I overreacting? I mean, everyone has their interests, and my brother has never ever acted inappropriately towards me or anyone in my family in real life. Please tell me this is so. Ugh. Moral of the story, don't snoop. Never ends well. Edit, I am 19 female and my brother is 23 male. Update, thank you to those who replied. I still have no idea what I'm gonna do. I really do get that it is fiction, and I completely understand that part of the appeal is to push characters to extremes because it would never happen in real life. It would not have disturbed me at all if the people involved were literally any other fictional character. Emphasis on the fictional. All I expected when I searched his phone was to find a list of his favorite fics and thought we could discuss any shared fandoms. And I know I shouldn't have gone looking. Didn't expect him to be an author, much less this. I'm sorry for the long paragraph. It's late at night and I can't bring myself to sleep in the same room as my brothers. Might just crash on the couch where I am at now. Also, I'm planning to beg off tomorrow's planned tour. We'll catch up on sleep then. And then the OP makes an update the next morning saying the fam is out for the day. Managed to stay back at the Airbnb and the Wi-Fi. There has been a split of opinions down below, and there are many who think that the writings are just writings and private. I think I will give him the benefit of the doubt this time. I don't think I have the stomach to upset everything if so. I'll be back out of the house for college soon, so there will be distance. Thanks for listening to my earlier confused post. And now let's get into some of the top comments on this post. Someone says, wow, that is freaky and I don't know what you should do. I will say Stephen King has written all sorts of freaky stuff and to my knowledge has never done anything similar in real life. Having an imagination and writing stuff is different than doing it. I'd be tempted to talk to someone about it though. And then the OP responds saying, on a theoretical level, I completely understand the fantasy doesn't equal real life idea. Just that it was a little too personal for my liking. I turned to Reddit because I don't think this is something I can speak to about anyone else IRL at the moment. Someone else says, run. And the OP responds saying, trust me, if we weren't on vacation, I would be staying over at a friend's house to think this through. Another user says, that is terrifying. If you have a therapist, I would ask them. I'm sorry that you experienced this. And the OP responds saying, unfortunately, I do not. Just really in shock right now. and I'm really not sure how to face my brother knowing that he has written this. Someone else says, as someone who woke up to being assaulted by their older brother, don't use any previous good relationship as a reason to not feel scared from this. My brother never laid a hand on me before he did. It just takes one time. I definitely didn't see it coming. I would talk to your parents about what to do. Therapy may be a good idea. And then the OP posts an update post 2 days later saying, we just returned home from our vacation, and the last 2 days were hell on my imagination. I know I said in the last post that I wasn't going to do anything about it, but I found that I couldn't just sit there and pretend everything was all right. So I spoke to my brother. We were alone, though our mother was in the house. It filled with lots of crying. He basically confessed to having those fantasies, but said that he would never hurt me in real life. I only read one of the stories, and apparently many of his other works also included me. I told him that he already did, and he promised to stop publishing new ones and to get rid of / change the old ones. He asked that I not tell anyone about it. It would ruin his life, he said. And in exchange, agreed that he was going to get therapy when we both return to our colleges in the fall. It sounded fair, so I agreed. And we ended the conversation with a hug at his request. In a sense, it felt like a really weird breakup. Not sure how to better describe it. We most definitely will not be able to have what we used to have in the past. And I hope any awkwardness at future family events can be overcome by time / distance and a buttload of therapy. I'm glad it was sorted out. Although that conversation was definitely one of the most awkward ones I have ever had. Hopefully this is the only update I need, and thanks for listening. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, man, that sounds tough. Sorry you had to find that stuff out, but at least he's willing to try and get help for it. I wish you both the best of luck. And then the OP responds saying, thank you. I hope everything is settled too, and time will heal. Someone else says, be careful. Everyone here sounds optimistic. But he thinks his life is going to be ruined, and now he's lost your affection / relationship / whatever he thinks of it. He might do something drastic. Someone else says, do you share the same bathroom? If yes, please check for hidden cameras. If he fantasized about you intimately, and indeed is intimately attracted to you, he may have tried to capture images as well. And then someone replies to that saying, even if they don't share, check it, and her room. Someone else says, make sure he actually goes through with therapy, in my opinion. I think you're far more relaxed about this than I would be, admittedly. It's really disturbing he was on there sharing and possibly reading other stuff like this. It's important and disturbing on so many levels. Lock your doors and keep mace on you, in my opinion. I don't know if this is something you should keep to yourself. This stuff rarely just goes away, as it didn't just happen overnight either. Basically, please be safe. Good luck, OP. And then someone else says, doesn't sound sorted to me. That shit isn't normal. Stay away from your brother. And then someone responds to that saying, thank you. All these people cheering them on like he didn't just admit to wanting to R-word his little sister. And then another user comments saying, he is telling you what he thinks you want to hear right now. You need to tell your parents for your own safety. And I completely agree. It is very dangerous that the OP is not telling anyone else, because right now it's just between them, which is, like I said, very dangerous. The OP needs to tell someone or anyone else. And a lot of the commenters agree here. They're saying, please don't just keep this between you two. Tell someone, please, because it's very dangerous and he could still possibly act on his impulses or his weird fantasies. But let's continue on with more comments. Someone says, this is so wrong and disturbing. I'm reading a lot of comments saying, congrats on handling it. This resolved well. This isn't over. A conversation between the two of you is not handling it. You are not equipped to give your brother the help he very clearly needs, and he is almost certainly not going to seek that help on his own. The fact that he asked you to not tell and that he asked to physically touch you, hug, at all following that conversation are both huge red flags. You need to tell your parents and ideally make a police report. Guaranteed, this is not over. Even if you're unaware of future stories, this will escalate and you need to protect yourself and others. And then someone replies to that saying, yes, I'm super concerned and deeply alarmed for humanity that people are excusing him in the name of fantasy or intimate interest. This is not a generalized familial love or R-word interest. These are detailed, explicit, thought through, shared with the public fantasies about one specific person. OP should never, ever be alone with him. OP, please tell at least one other person besides him what you know, for the love of God and your personal safety. If I learned that one of my friend's brothers had done this, I would move her into my home if necessary to remove her from the situation and take her to professional counseling for professional advice. If I learned that my own brother did this, I would instantly consult a professional on what to do and cut all contact until I got solid advice from a pro. Please stay safe, OP. This is really scary stuff. And then the OP updates us nearly 2 months later, and the update is horrific. I wish I had nothing to update, but I thought I should share this here as a closure to this throwaway, in case anyone was in a similar situation. I think my brother did something to me. He left for a road trip to college 3 weeks ago before I did, and the night before we left, my parents had a cookout with our neighbors. There were drinks and I was allowed to have a glass of sangria. Next thing I know, it was the next afternoon, and my brother had already left. I was told they tried to wake me up to get me to say bye, but I was too fast asleep. And that I absolutely should watch myself if I was going to drink in college because my alcohol tolerance sucked. I woke up feeling really off, but I don't actually know what. I have a vague memory of opening my eyes to see a hand on my left wrist and someone grinding on top of me. The feeling of being pinned down comes to me in flashes, but nothing concrete. The only real evidence that something actually was wrong the next day was that my pajamas top was buttoned all the way to the top, as I usually leave it 2 buttons off. I've since moved into college and I'm hoping it really was just a nightmare. I did keep my distance and should not have been so careless, but at the same time, I don't even know what happened. I just wanted to leave this here in case this is useful for someone else. And now let's get into some of the top comments. One commenter says, you cannot, and I mean cannot, keep this a secret from anyone anymore. Your brother possibly SA'd you, or maybe even worse. There's no way a 19-year-old blacks out from 1 glass of sangria. I feel very sorry for you, and I hope you tell your parents. Your brother is not sane. You knew this from when you found his graphic writings about you. He needs to be put away for a long time. Recently, I was talking to my dad about this invisible wall he hit in his mid-30s. He's always been a high energy guy, but suddenly the same workouts and diet just weren't cutting it anymore. He said it felt like he was moving through mud despite using twice the effort. It made me realize that while I'm 19 right now and feeling 100%, there's a biological clock for men that nobody really warns you about until you're already in it. Most guys don't know that after age 30, you can begin losing about 1% of your testosterone every single year. But the real testosterone trap is a protein called SHBG that basically handcuffs your testosterone levels. It's like having a bunch of money in your bank, but you can't spend it. You have the resources, but you just can't access them for that extra drive or focus. So, if I was an older gentleman, I'd be using Mars Men to stay ahead of that curve. It's designed to help free up that locked up testosterone so your body can actually use it. It uses 8 natural, clinically dosed ingredients like tonka ali and shilajit, no synthetics or needles. Some men report a steadier sense of drive and a much better recovery in the gym. Unlike a caffeine crash, this is designed for consistent, natural energy throughout the day. It's made in the USA and third-party tested. They even offer a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Though over 91% of users report feeling significantly higher energy levels. For a limited time, you guys can get 50% off for life plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. It's also available on Amazon. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Thank you so much, Mars Men, for sponsoring today's video. And now, let's get back into it. Am I the asshole for running away from home because I'm deathly terrified of my husband and son? I, 35 female, have a son, 18 male, and a husband, 45 male, who I'm attempting to divorce. I met my husband when I was 16 at the church in my hometown. At 17, he invited me over and I don't remember it well, but we ended up sleeping together. I was supposed to be cleaning his house for some extra pocket change, but ended up pregnant. I still can't remember everything that happened, but when my parents found out, they confronted him and made me marry him. I had my son not much longer after that. My husband's a brute. He was always mean to me. I tried my best to make him happy. I'd cook his favorite foods, clean the house extra nice, do childcare work to make a few dollars to buy him a treat or two. But if I made one mistake he didn't like, he'd hit me. I used to cry to my father about it, but he'd tell me it's my punishment for having premarital relations. I'd ask my father what my husband's punishment was, and he'd say, his punishment is having to settle for you. I don't think I ever recovered from that. Before anyone asks about my mother, she's always been kind of out of it. She's been on medication since I was a child, and she's kind of like a zombie. She doesn't talk much or do much of anything unless my father says so. She was different when I was little, but I hardly remember those days. The hitting got worse, to the point where I wasn't really allowed to leave the house. If I did, I had to wear makeup or else my husband would think I was trying to get him in trouble. My son grew up watching this. I've heard stories of kids hating their abusive fathers, but my son loved his father more than he loved me. I never wanted my son to hate his father, but he started acting out, and eventually he started laying hands on me too. My son started hitting me when he was 10. It was light, and I'd tell him to stop, but as he got older, he started beating me. If I told him no, he'd beat me. If I didn't do something he wanted, he'd slap or kick or even punch me. And my husband would back him up a lot of the time. He'd say, "He's just learning to be a man. He'll stop when he's older and has his own wife." It got to the point where I was terrified of my baby. The only thing in this world I ever got to make, and he terrified me. When he was 16, he broke my arm really bad because I showed my husband his report card. My husband disciplined him, but never told me how. I grew to hate my son so much every day, but I still tried to be good to him, to help him. He didn't want that. I couldn't make him want that. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep without dreaming of my son and husband hurting me. My son once pinned me on the ground because I had asked him to help me lift something. I'm frail, so I can't lift much. When he pinned me, he hit me a lot and I could feel it. Hurting me aroused him. He rubbed up against me for a few seconds and then he started screaming at me, saying it was all my fault and locked himself in his room. I didn't tell my husband. I should have, but somehow I felt like I just would have gotten hurt worse by one of them. He was 17 when this happened, so last year. After his 18th birthday in January, I packed a bag and wandered off into the night. I don't have friends. My father wouldn't help me, even if I told him these things. I slept on a park bench and went to the library and looked up a woman's shelter. I worked really hard and got a studio apartment. I don't know how, but my son found me. He spent hours at my door, knocking and crying for me, calling me mama. He hadn't called me that in years. I was terrified he'd break the door down and drag me back to the house, but my neighbors made him leave. My son has also gotten my number somehow. Now he, my husband, my father, and some of my son's friends are texting me and calling me horrible names. My son says I'm a bad mother for running away and not loving him the way he loves me. My husband says he won't grant me a divorce and that he'll take whatever I have right now and that I failed as a woman. My father says I'll die alone because I'm a bad woman. My father even got my mother on the phone to speak to me. She's all pilled out though, so I shouldn't take her words to heart. But she says that a woman can never abandon her child, no matter how painful life gets. She told me when my father hurt her, she never left me. So I was a coward and a failure for leaving my son. She said she could forgive divorce, but not leaving my baby behind. Am I the asshole? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, please block everyone. Keep repeating this. I will no longer allow anyone to hit me or say mean things to me. You need protection and help to escape. You can file for a restraining order for all of the horrible people in your life. Please find a domestic violence shelter. I hope someone here has better advice. Honestly, your ex telling you he won't give you a divorce? Who cares? You can file for divorce and his compliance is not required. They have terrified you into submission. Their power over you is not absolute. And then someone replies saying, this is 100% true. The OP can and should file for divorce. The men in her previous life sound very dangerous, so I am almost certain a judge would grant a restraining order. And then the OP responds saying, I feel like if I tried to get a restraining order, they would all just deny everything and make me feel crazy. I don't think I'll be able to get one. I don't feel like I have good enough proof. Another commenter says, congrats on getting away. Ditch this phone and get a burner. Stay off social media. Don't renew the lease on this place. Look for another. Get some resource help from a DV shelter if you can find one. Do any work you can find. Legally change your name. Ditch the old burner and get a new one. When you get the name change and the new place, do not get any deliveries. Use a P.O. box only. Keep a go bag and most of your money in cash. Reset your life. For you and you alone, you can do it. And the OP responds saying, I kind of like this idea way better than all of the other ones. Another user says, he doesn't have to grant you a divorce. My ex-husband wouldn't sign the papers, and after 2 years, I was granted the divorce. I'm very proud of you for leaving this abusive situation. It takes a lot. You have been manipulated since you were a child that you deserve to be treated poorly. You don't. You deserve to be treated kindly and with love. I'm sorry that your family is completely awful. I hope you have found support to help you through this. If not, I hope you have a therapist who can assist you. But you know you're going to have to move and change your number, and I know that's awful as well. And the OP responds saying, I know this is weird to say, but these comments have been better friends to me than anyone else I could possibly think of. I didn't know that you didn't need both parties' consent for a divorce until today, actually. Maybe I'm a bit slow for that, but thank you so much. Another commenter says, you were 16 and he was 26. So much to unpack here. You were manipulated and you're not a bad person for having premarital relations. Absolutely disgusting that your husband beats you. And as for your son, I'm truly sorry. You despising him is not wrong. You have been abused by your dad, husband, and son, and maybe mom. You are in every right to leave them. You've been isolated to the point where you don't have any friends now and any support, and I'm truly sorry for that. You are nowhere near in the wrong, so please don't think that. Your safety is what's important. Maybe try to pack as much evidence of being abused by them. Please leave that situation as soon as you can. You're strong for even trying to leave in the first place and even wanting to now. No one should ever lay a hand on you, and I truly hope you're able to leave. I'm so sorry you're going through this right now. And the OP responds saying, I've never thought about it like this. And then the OP makes 2 edits to their post saying, while I have no issues responding to comments, the idea of replying to personal messages terrifies me for some reason. Please don't get upset if I don't message you. I don't mean to be weird. Edit 2. I've been reading a lot of comments and I'm grateful and very overwhelmed. I won't get too specific, but I just packed an essentials bag and have purchased a ticket for out of town. I got off the phone with a shelter a few thousand miles away, and they are willing to get me once I arrive in their city. I'll figure out divorces and restraining orders once I'm finally there. Until then, I'll read comments to see if there are any more useful things to learn. Luckily, my studio is on a month-to-month lease because I had never really planned on making this a permanent home. So leaving isn't as hard as I thought. Running away the first time was hard, but maybe the second time will be easier. And then the OP gives us an update a little while later, saying, here's a small update, and I likely won't update again due to being nervous about everything, but I'm on the bus. I got on this morning and I'm about 5 hours away from the state, and then I'll be getting on a plane. I had enough money for a ticket, so I'll be super far away. I won't work on the divorce until a few months from now, and I have a small job lined up. It's nothing special. Just a $12 an hour fast food gig. I'm grateful for all of the advice. My old landlord was sorry to see me go, but I paid off this month's rent and told him he can sell the little bit of furniture I had. He said he'd give me half of that money once it's all sold. He's very kind, a little scary looking, but when I spoke to him over the phone after I had left, he was very understanding. Thank you for everything, and I'm sorry, but this is the last thing anyone will hear from me unless I work up the nerve to update again. You are all incredibly wonderful and special people to me. And the OP did end up giving us an update 4 months later, which reads as follows. I know it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it has. I just want you all to know I'm fine. I have a roommate now. She's a lovely older lady who plays piano. She's been allowing me to rent a bedroom from her, and all I have to do is pay $300 a month and help her around the house when I'm not working. I have a divorce lawyer who's been dandy with me. though it's a little difficult since my husband is so far away and not being kind about it since I won't communicate with him outside a lawyer. My son hasn't come close to finding me at all, though I do miss him. Sometimes. I mean, I gave birth to him. It's hard to be strong about my feelings regarding him, but I know I'll never allow myself to be near him again, no matter how sad I feel about it. My roommate is around 59 and she's a lovely baker. She teaches me all of these lovely recipes for cobbler and so on. I know it's weird, but I feel like she's the first real friend I've had since I was a small child. I haven't tried dating. I don't think I will. I also tried weed for the first time. Absolutely pleasant. My roommate's got it for me. She uses it for her back pain, but I use it for bed. It helps me sleep without night terrors. I feel like I'm learning what life is now, and I actually love it. And then the OP posts a while after saying, the divorce is still pending, but my lawyer says that things are looking in my favor. Recently, I joined a small book club in my town, and I've started socializing with other women my age. It's so exciting. Some of the books we're reading are a bit risque, but it's all very fun to me. My roommate hasn't been doing the best though. She's gotten very sick and it's making me really sad. I finally got a car and for the first time my driver's license. So I've been taking her back and forth to the doctors and got to meet her children. They're a little younger than me, but they're all kind and call me their big sister. They're all in their mid-20s. They've been grateful that I've been helping her out and invited me to a family dinner that her eldest daughter's hosting for her youngest daughter's baby shower. I'm super excited because her eldest daughter is allowing me to help cook for everything and I love cooking. I'm also super excited because I got to meet the eldest daughter's toddlers and I absolutely adore children. Life feels alright. I've even thought about trying to date after my therapist says I'm ready for it. That's gonna be ages down the road though. I hope you're all doing well. And that is the last update we have received from the OP, but this is a pretty rare, happy-ish ending. I mean, obviously, the first post that the OP made was horrifying and terrible and just horrific. But at the end there, I mean, the OP said it themselves. They're starting to enjoy life and love it, which is just really good to see. Because, I mean, in that first post, we saw that the OP's husband and even her son was beating her and starting to take an attraction towards her, which is just horrific. And her father wouldn't listen and her mom was on pills and drugged up. I mean, that is such a horrible situation and this could have gotten a lot worse. This could have gone a lot worse. The OP could have, gone back to them and gone back to the abusive situation because that happens a lot of the time in these situations. But luckily, the OP was able to get a job lined up, get her own apartment, and get away, thousands of miles away, and start their life up for real this time and start enjoying and loving their life. And I just really hope that the OP is doing better now and all things are well. A friend of mine broke into my house, put her stuff at random places to make it look like she's been a tenant. Cops arrive, finds her stuff all over the place, and so of course they won't remove her. What do I do now? And man, that's one hell of a title, but let's get into it. I have a friend who called me last night asking for a place to stay. I politely told her no. She's 25. I'm 19, and I should mention she's a narcissistic bitch. Today, I was over at my cousin's place this morning, and when I came home a couple of hours ago, I found this lady inside my house. No signs of a break-in from the outside. I ask her how she got in, and she tells me through the back window. I tell her I never gave you permission to come here, and that she needs to leave immediately. And she says, deal with it. I call the cops and tell them that there's a person who got inside my house without my permission and that I need an officer to come and remove her. A couple of minutes later, they arrive, and here's what happens. She tells them, "I know my rights, officers. I've been a legal tenant in this house for 2 months now, and you can't just remove me. I can go around, show you my clothes in the wardrobe, my toothbrush and my conditioner in the bathroom, and all of my other stuff." They take a walk with her, and all of her fucking stuff is all over my house. She fucking broke into my house, put her stuff all over so that the cops would think she's been a tenant. The next thing they tell me is that I have to serve her with an eviction notice and that they can't legally remove her since she's considered a tenant. I didn't even know what to tell them as I felt so dumbfounded and shocked I was set up like this. I was silent for a few seconds, and so they tried to explain how the law works to me, but since I just kept looking at them in silence, not believing myself, they just proceed to leave. I'm so pissed. I'm in California, so I can't even record her confessing to what she's done. If I can do that under an exception, I could easily do it because apparently she has no problem admitting it when the cops aren't there. I'm not, however, going to do so if they lead to more problems. I've also thought about calling 911 or the non-emergency line and telling the operator about the situation so that the call would be recorded and then make my friend confess about it. Can I do that? Me and the operator are aware of the call being recorded. I think it still would be unlawful. How do I get this bitch out without having to serve her eviction notice? Isn't that against the law what she did there? Isn't this fraud? I've thought about trying to prove that she's been living somewhere else before, but I don't know what to do. This is fucked up. I'm really sorry about my language, but I'm really feeling so angry, and I'm trying to be as calm as much as I can while she's in my house using my stuff, and I can't do shit about it. Thanks. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Me and the operator are aware of the call being recorded. I think it would still be unlawful. The commenter was quoting the OP there, and the commenter responds saying, yes, because the person being recorded doesn't consent. How do I get this lady out without having to serve her an eviction notice? The commenter quotes the OP again and says, if the police won't take action, eviction is all you have. And the OP responds saying, even if I found a way to prove she wasn't living here, so what? Now I can go to any of my friend's house and put my stuff there and basically live for free? If I eventually get proof she faked this, what can I do at that point? And someone responds to that saying, it's difficult to prove a negative, especially given that she didn't have another place to stay. Still, if you believe you have that evidence, you can try the police again. But if the police don't do anything, eviction is your only option. And the OP responds saying, so basically anyone can go break in anywhere at a friend's house and this would work? This is ridiculous. And someone else responds saying, tenants are given broad protection against being kicked out. This is a good thing. In your case, you have a situation where someone isn't a tenant, but looks exactly like a tenant. That sucks, but it's an edge case, a one-off. It just doesn't happen that often. So yeah, in the extremely rare circumstance that someone breaks into your home with no damage and scatters enough stuff around to look like a tenant, you get a little boned. It sucks, but the worst thing you can do is compound it by trying to kick her out without the eviction. And I would just have to disagree with that commenter there. Like, she doesn't look like a tenant. There's no sort of lease or contract that was signed. Like, literally, this person just walked into the home without any sort of proof other than her stuff being there. Like, to me, that makes zero sense. Like, of course, it's good for tenants in an apartment building or a condo building or a house or a leased apartment or house or whatever to not just be kicked out willy-nilly by the landlord. But usually they have a contract, and so that makes sense. Here, this makes no sense. This could be anyone just breaking into their house, and she shows up and is like, who are you? and they just have her stuff everywhere, and it makes it okay. To me, that just seems ridiculous. And God, that's just, I feel so bad for the OP because the OP doesn't have her house anymore. There's this basically stranger living there that the OP doesn't like. But let's continue on with some more comments. Someone says, I'm going to go in a completely different direction and suggest you get a protection order. This woman is dangerous and completely out of touch with reality. If I were you, I would be very, very scared. Go down to the court and fill out an order for temporary protection. The form will ask you if you two live in the same house. Say no. Put in her last known address. You should get her ordered to stay away from you. And she will not be able to enter the apartment, as it will be breaking the order. If you need to call the police, you can call and tell them you have an order of protection against this person, and they will make her leave. You do not want a residence exclusion order, which requires actual violence. You want a stay away order. Another user says, that friend is a dangerous person. This is some next level sociopathy. OP, secure valuables. Lock credit against ID theft. Also, if OP wants for friend to leave house, can OP just throw all friend's shit out on the street? Friend calls police and says I was illegally evicted. OP says friend has no proof of being a resident. If OP can make police call it civil matter, so friend has no choice but to sue, then OP should be okay, but ready to be sued by a sociopath. And the OP commented saying the cops already came and said that she's a tenant. I can't do any of this. And God, this is just such a nightmare for the OP. Truly, like, this is nightmarish. The OP's life has just been flipped upside down, and now they need to worry about this and go through a whole eviction process, which will take a long time. But luckily, the OP gives us an update the next day, which reads as follows. I texted one of her friends on Instagram, who I know is close to her, and explained what happened. She gave me her boyfriend's name on Facebook and told me to talk to him to see if he can come over and persuade her to leave. I've reached him and we got on the phone a few minutes ago. He said he can come over after work and see what he can do. Is there anything I should do before he comes here? Do I start recording video? Do I call the cops instead? Do I bring in a third witness? I'm really afraid if this ever turns into a DV of some sort, if any of them decides to do anything stupid. Keep in mind, I'm 19 and both of them are well over my age by a lot. And oh shit, I totally forgot how young the OP is here. Like the OP is not even like an adult. I mean, like obviously this is a nightmare for anyone, but the OP's like a kid still, like a teenager, and they have to deal with this now? This is truly so horrifying. I mean, like, I'm 19. I can't imagine ever having to deal with this. Like, I don't own my own house, but still, you know, like if I did and I had to deal with this crazy friend of mine that broke into my house and claimed she lived there, and now you need to deal with this, and they're like 25, 26. That is really strange and really honestly scary. This is dangerous. This could easily, escalate into a dangerous situation because obviously the OP's quote unquote friend who broke in is not mentally well. But now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, it's time to call on a friend, a close one. I would propose your mom actually. Middle-aged women often have a magical violence desalinating effect on unknown quantities. The point is someone calm, very calm. You don't need another voice here. You need a witness. If all goes well, I would suggest you lock the door behind her, and this time lock your window. The problem with that, of course, is the cops have already decided she lives there. So if she calls them claiming you locked her out, you're SOL. In these circumstances, it might be worth the risk. Can you begin accumulating evidence she did not live there as of yesterday? Call friends and family who can verify you lived alone, or who can say where she lived. Instagrams of her taking pictures of her place. Facebook posts where she indicates where she lives or implied is not with you. Like, can I come over? From a few days ago would be great. Once you're done with her, don't ever talk to her again. That's it. This is a new level of crazy, and it's going to burn everything it touches. And then the OP responded saying, I didn't tell my mom about any of this yet because she worries a lot about me and she already has a lot of issues going on, so I didn't want to put any more pressure on her. I think I have to call her now though. And then the OP responds to this question of, can you begin accumulating evidence she did not live there as of yesterday? And the OP responds to that sort of question saying, when I looked up her Instagram account, I found lots of pictures in Arizona that she was dumb enough to have them tagged with location. The pictures were taken within the past month. I took screenshots as well as archiving them like a web version. I also wrote down a transcript of how the conversation went down when she called me asking to stay at my place and I refused. I've screenshotted the conversation with a friend as well. And then another commenter asked saying, why didn't you follow the advice in the previous post and pursue a restraining order? And the OP responded saying, I should have done this, but I didn't. Someone mentioned that I should try and contact one of her friends or family and let them try and talk to her, and so that's what I did. I'm hoping it works. If not, I'll go file the restraining order. And then the OP posts an update 1 day later, which reads as follows. First of all, I want to explain what happened, apologize, and thank all of you. Long story short, as soon as her boyfriend came in, she started crying hysterically. I told them that I'm video recording them through my phone, but they seemed uninterested in what I said. She started blaming him for all sorts of stuff. He kept apologizing a lot, and after what seemed like an eternity, she packed her stuff up and they were both gone. Now I've written down on a piece of paper all your different advice. I will file a restraining order against her. I will also go file a police report and talk to the sheriff explaining everything that happened. I've documented all I could. I have screenshots of her Instagram account with the pictures tagged to AZ, plus the video of her and her boyfriend arguing in my house and then packing and leaving together. My mom's main concern right now is getting the protective order ASAP and installing an alarm system in my house. She said she'll be staying with me until we can get a company to install an alarm system on Monday. Thank you guys for suggesting to call my mom. It made me feel safer while she was here. Apology. I know how annoying it was for you guys to keep giving me advice that I should file the restraining order and go to the police, only to find me not do any of them but invite a stranger into my house. My mom also pointed out how badly this could have gone with her boyfriend coming here. And that is the last update we have received from the OP. And to be honest, I think that is the best case scenario on how that ended, with the OP's friend or the lady living in her house just leaving and hopefully never coming back. My boyfriend comes home injured every day and he won't tell me why. I, 26 female, live with my boyfriend who's 23 male, and he is the love of my life. He's always been honest with me about everything. But recently, I feel like he's hiding something bad from me, because for 2 months, every time he returns home after work, he's bruised and injured. Not like a small injury, but really visible injuries like bruises, cuts on his abdomen, legs, bad injuries. The worst injury he had was 13 days ago. He came home at midnight and I was still awake doing some work. and his whole hair and face was messed up. He has a middle part, and it was like some of it was cut off, and he had bad swelling in his cheekbone area. He also had a black eye. When I saw him, I was trying to ask him what happened to him, and he just told me he didn't want to talk about it. I've tried to do anything to just get some more information from him, but he refuses to give me any. He keeps telling me not to worry about it. I've told him I'd also go to the police to report what's happening to him, but he's pleaded me every time to not, or else he'd break up with me. I'm so worried for him, and I feel like I can't do anything. He hasn't done anything to deserve any of this, and I've been trying to come up with anything, but I can't. He truly is a person who lives a simple life. The only reason I've come up with it is that my boyfriend is one of the few minorities in a very conservative city, but even then he has friends, connections, etc. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, "I bet he owes someone money." And the OP responds saying, "I really doubt that. He's never been the type of person to do something like that. And as far as I know, he isn't in any type of serious debt." Another user comments saying, "LMAO, then how the hell is he getting so injured? Is he part of a fight club? What else does he do for work?" And the OP responds saying, "Pediatric nursing." Another user comments saying, "It sounds like he's an immigrant since you say his mom still lives in Vietnam. If he immigrated to the US illegally, it would explain why he doesn't want to go to the police and how he might owe money to bad people, despite being a hardworking person who is not involved in shady stuff. This is sheer speculation, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't know what to do about it, but maybe an immigration lawyer would help." And the OP responds saying, "He was born in the US. His mom just moved back to Vietnam with the rest of his family to take care of them. He told me he lived with his grandfather, but he sadly passed away 2 years ago." And another user says, "If you're close to his mom or brother or sister, then tell them. Maybe they'll help you out. To me, it seems like he's gotten himself into bad business and he's too ashamed to tell you about it." And the OP responds saying, "He's an only child. His mom is also really hard to communicate with. I don't blame her, but she lives in Vietnam still, and she speaks basically no English. Going off of that, I'm not sure she even knows what's going on in my boyfriend's life living so far away." And then we get an update a few days later, about 3 days later, which reads as follows. "I asked my boyfriend yesterday about what was really going on, and I threatened to rope in my family, the police, and break up with him. I told him he was jeopardizing my own safety, and he had to tell me. After a lot of stalling, he eventually told me what it was. He's in a fight club. I guess the jokes were right. He's actually in a fight club like the movie. However, it's more complicated than just he's bored. He told me his family in Vietnam, specifically his mom, are pressuring him a lot to give them more and more money. They have told him that if he doesn't give them enough, they'll cut contact with him. And even though we both have pretty good jobs, he was struggling to reach their demands and didn't ask me for money. He heard about the fight club from his friends, and at first he thought it wasn't any good. But he told me he was getting really stressed from his family situation, and getting hit would relieve some of it. And once he heard money was on the line, he decided to join in. That's the reason he refused to say anything about it, because, like the movie, he followed the first rule of Fight Club. That's also why he comes home sad. He's only using the Fight Club as a way to cope and earn some money on the side. That's also somewhat the reason he would plead me to not contact the police whenever I told him I would. Even though the actual fight club itself isn't illegal, a lot of illegal activities like drugs were being done in and of itself. I've talked to him about helping him with some money or therapy, but he told me he wants to deal with his issues himself. He told me he doesn't want me to stress myself out just to help him. For now, I'll stay off, but I told him I'll be helping myself by helping him if he's in a bad situation. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, unless you're fine staying in a relationship with someone who is very like to suffer from many concussions going forward, I recommend telling him to either cut off his family and stop fighting or leave him. CTE is no joke, and I'm fairly certain these underground fights don't have paramedics on standby in case of an injury. He's going down a path that he will be lucky to walk away from with massive lasting physical and mental damage, if he's lucky enough to walk away at all. And the OP responds saying, the worst thing is my boyfriend doesn't have any type of MMA background. He doesn't really know what he's doing. Another user says, I know your boyfriend wants to do this for his family in the name of tradition, but he shouldn't do it at the expense of his safety. To defy the laws of tradition is a crusade only of the brave. And the OP responds saying, I told him that too. And he said he'd try, but it's going to be a while. Because he showed me just some of the payments he's given to his family, and holy fuck, the amount he's giving could actually pay some of our bills. And that is the last update we have received from the OP, because the OP's account has since been deleted. But man, that is a wild, wild post. And it's just insane how her boyfriend is in a fight club earning money to send money to his family. But who knows what ended up happening. I wonder if he stayed in the fight club fighting, or he kind of came to his senses and realized that's very dangerous and he could easily die or get severely injured, but who knows? I caught noises that wasn't me. Originally posted to r/RBI, and the post reads as follows. So for a while, my husband has been saying that someone is watching us. He took apart a lot of things, covered up vents, and went up to the crawl space, but found nothing. His excuse was he hears someone walking around at night, moving stuff, noises, voices, and things disappear or move around. We live in a really small 2-bedroom duplex and can regularly hear the neighbors, but can never catch their noises on our indoor cameras. He recently bought a few microphones to record while we sleep, and you can hear stuff being moved around, footsteps and people whispering. He says it wasn't him and was blaming it on me, that I'm seeing someone. I am not. I listened to the audio and you can hear movement for sure. He set up 3 different spots. Please tell me there might be a more logical explanation. I was initially thinking about taking him to be evaluated for schizophrenia, but, well, he actually did get something recorded. He says someone might be coming in or hiding somewhere, etc. But like I said, our place is really small, and the only spot to get in and out of is the top crawl space is from my kids' room. Their door is very loud, and we can hear when they open it. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says he took apart a lot of things, like taking apart electronic equipment, looking for spy cams. That would be a mental health issue. And the OP responds saying, yep, exactly what I said to him, which is why I tried convincing him to get evaluated. I'm at my wit's ends and don't know if me hearing these noises in the recorded audio is just me that he's gotten in my head. I'm going to get more people to listen to it for me as well. And then someone else replies to that saying, this unfortunately sounds very, very like crystal abuse, crystal the drug. It isn't weird to have sounds on a recording of an occupied house that shares a wall with neighbors, even if you were asleep. It is weird to assume that sounds in an occupied house that shares a wall with neighbors are evidence of an affair and to start taking apart electronics to prove it. You cannot reason people out of this type of paranoia. I was an ER nurse for years, and we once had a patient bloody his own fingers trying to remove a sharps box from the wall of a room because he was sure someone was hiding behind it talking to him. It was crystal, not a haunted sharps box. Were there sounds in the ER? Sure. But someone is talking to me from behind the sharps box, as the conclusion to jump to from that is not rational. My wife is letting people in while I'm asleep, and knowing that our house is being surveilled is nearly as irrational as that. And the OP responds saying, I hope I can convince him to do a drug test for me. But every comment saying crystal has me doing research, and now I'm thinking that's the case. Another user says, I agree with others that your husband needs to see a doctor. Given the fact that you have close neighbors whom you can regularly hear, it's concerning that when your husband hears noises, he doesn't assume the neighbors are the source. Instead, he sets up recording devices and accuses you of cheating. Does he honestly think you have a secret lover who's sneaking into the bedroom in the middle of the night while he is sleeping? Silently? Via the kid's crawl space like a freaking ninja? This is severe unhealthy paranoia. What does he say / how does he react when you tell him that the noises are not you and you're not seeing someone? Does he believe you? Does he treat you like you and he are on the same team and ask you to help him figure out these mysterious noises? Or is he acting belligerent like he doesn't trust anyone, including you? And the OP responds to this saying, so he believes me, he says. We talk it out, but it's been at least 3 times where he accuses me of cheating and bringing someone in while he's in the house. Like I said, the house is really small. I would be a fool to do something like that. But he calms down after I assure him it's not me, and he says he believes me, but then he does it again. He does ask to help him figure it out, but when I bring the idea of seeking professional help, he gets upset, saying I think he's crazy. But I've let him figure it out as well, as I have nothing to hide. It's very exhausting though. And then another user comments saying, this sounds like a phase I went through while I was smoking a lot of crystal. And the OP responded saying, drug test is on my list of things to do now. And then someone else says, I think he needs to see a doctor. And unfortunately, that is the last update we've received from the OP, but I just thought that first post was so interesting, I just had to include it. And we can speculate in the comments, you guys can speculate. But what do you guys think? Do you think the OP's husband was on crystal? People really did seem to think that. Or do you think he has some sort of mental illness? Or do you think someone is actually breaking in and living in their crawl space? I mean, no one was even entertaining that theory. And for some reason, no one really thought about or suggested the mental health angle. More of just he was a drug addict or using drugs, which is interesting. Now, no one thought it could be, schizophrenia or something like that. That wasn't a theory I saw a lot in the comments. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's mental illness or just drug use? Or is someone actually breaking into the home and making noises? But I do find it very concerning that there's whispering and stuff actually being moved around. So who's moving stuff around? And I'm kind of curious if that's the OP and her husband's things being moved around, or it's the sounds of things being moved around, if that makes sense. Because if things are being moved around their home and neither of them are doing that, then that's pretty concerning. Unless the OP's husband is just doing it. But I don't know. Very, very weird post. And I wish we had an update, but unfortunately we don't. And leave your thoughts down below in the comments and on to the next one. I, 24 female, think I'm being stalked, and I can't tell by how many people. Originally posted to r/creepyencounters and originally posted on March 7th, 2026, and let's get into it. Reposted to breakup text wall. Burner account, obviously. I know the title sounds paranoid, but please bear with me. I work full-time at a public university in the US as an office manager and am enrolled in grad school at the same institution. I graduate this May. I have in-person night classes 3 days a week that start right after I get off work. My apartment is on the first floor of a complex about 10 minutes away. Over the past few months, I've had numerous bizarre occurrences around my home and workplace. The first, to my knowledge, was in September and was something my neighbor across the hall, very sweet older woman, told me. A man was banging on my door for around an hour just after midnight. I was not home. My neighbor poked her head out to ask him what was going on, and he said he was a DoorDasher with no food or bags in his hands, apparently. My neighbor watched him through the peephole and told me he tried the doorknob multiple times. No ring camera or anything, so no footage. As far as I know, he didn't come back. But I've also had 3 or 4 instances over this several month period where someone knocked on my bedroom window, blackout curtains always closed, late at night loud enough to wake me and my tiny dog. Never saw who it was. In October, a woman came to my sliding glass door about a month later, demanding to come in because her stolen device had apparently been pinging my apartment. When I refused, she called the sheriff's department. The deputy who came asked me a couple of questions and left, but did confirm that a device was pinging my apartment. Never found out if she meant a phone or what. The woman hung out in the parking lot before leaving a few minutes later. Obviously, I've never stolen any phone, so I was completely bewildered. I never saw her again. In December, things came to a head when I found a plug-in GPS tracker in the OBD, which is onboard diagnostics, port under my dashboard. Car dealership where I got service last said they didn't use that brand, Land Air C, and yes, I have the model and serial number, and didn't perform any services that would have warranted putting it in there. I called the cops and they just wrote down a few details and left. University police were also informed since the tracker was probably placed either on campus or at my apartment. The tracker was the biggest red flag. I never checked my OBD port, so I have no idea how long it was there. I told my unit director, and he offered to subtly remove mentions of me around the office and on the website, which I accepted. I am, however, posted up at the office front desk for like 80% of my day. This past Tuesday, right before I left for lunch, a middle-aged man came into the office wearing a hairnet, surgical mask, hoodie, and sunglasses. He claimed to be a prospective student and had questions about FAFSA. He was extremely hard to understand. I directed him to the financial aid office across campus, and he kept asking questions that our office cannot answer. I thought, sure, fine, maybe harmless and just not all there mentally. He walks over to our coffee machine, not for communal use by the way, but I didn't want to be a bitch, and just starts making coffee. He's still there when I leave, and one of my staff watches the desk while I'm out. When I return from lunch, he's gone, but walks in after me a few minutes later and just sits in the lobby on his phone before getting up to leave almost immediately. I was off work Wednesday and Thursday, so I came in Friday. I felt like giving my mostly undergrad staff a break, so I gave them permission to head home early, inadvertently leaving me alone in the office. The man came back wearing the exact same clothes, mask, hairnet, and sunglasses within 5 minutes of the office clearing out. Our office is technically open to the public, but isn't really public facing, and he had no reason for being there, especially that late in the day. He came in, barely acknowledged me, and said he was going to bring back bottled water for our coffee machine. He left again. I'm very creeped out by this, so I messaged my director, working remotely, and he got an IT guy from the adjacent building to come over with his laptop to keep me company. I explained the situation, and he said he'd stay with me until close. He settles in my director's office just around the corner, but it still looked like I was alone. The man does come back without water and leans against the desk trying to start a conversation with me. IT guy comes around the corner and stands between me and him, and he quickly changes the subject and asks about financial aid again, for the fourth time in as many days, before being directed away and leaving immediately. I'm strongly considering informing campus police about this. Like I said, they already know about the tracker. I've had problems in the past during my undergrad years at a different institution with men and a woman being creepy towards me, but nothing to this level. I have no idea what to do. I can't tell what's isolated and what's connected. My family lives an hour away and has been no help at all. I have a sinking feeling that things are going to escalate. Any advice on what I should do or change at home, work, or elsewhere is appreciated. I'm open to further questions. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, "It is all isolated. Please speak with a psychiatrist." So this commenter thinks the OP is crazy, I guess. But the OP comments saying, "I'm not going to have a psychotic break. Other people close to me have told me that this is all weird, and I was right to report it." Another commenter says, "Buy security cameras or a Ring camera for the front door. Tasers are cheap on Amazon, and there's companies that sell knives disguised as pens or combs. I have several of those. You might also want to check out those devices that reveal/ping on electronics secretly placed in apartments/houses to record people. What did the woman look like who came to your sliding door?" And the OP responds saying, "I remember her being very skinny and tanned with hair dyed platinum blonde. I also have a gun that I CC pretty much wherever it's legal, but never on campus, and CC means concealed carry." Another commenter says, "Get a friend or neighbor to check in on you every day. Can you vary the way you go home every day?" And the OP responds saying, "It's pretty much a straight shot home, but I can take the longer route or zigzag a little. Unfortunately, it's highly likely that the tracker logged my workplace and home already." Another commenter says, "Definitely inform campus police to start your paper trail. I'm very paranoid when it comes to any paperwork, so I'd ask for copies of the police report regarding that lady. And ask for a copy after you tell campus police. Make sure it's in writing about the tracker too. Are there cameras in the office also?" And then the OP responds to this comment saying, "Both county and campus police know all there is to know about the tracker, but are yet to be filled in on the office visitor. The hallway cameras will have captured what he is doing in the building, but not in the office itself." Another commenter says, "Was a victim of stalking by an ex for over 2 years. Do you have anyone in your past that was abusive or took a breakup hard? Anyone with access to flying monkeys? The tracker is most concerning to me. If you found one, there might be another. I had 2 on my car. One of them was under the driver's seat. Never did find the other one before the ex made the car go bye-bye. Took it from in front of the courthouse, by the way, while I was inside filing a restraining order. He even had another ex of his, who he reconciled with, stalk me. Weird AF, eh? The tracker I found under the seat was a small, white, unmarked box that looked like it belonged with the car. Wired in, but what clued me in was duct tape on the wiring around the side of the seat. I would also have your apartment checked for bugs. be aware of conversations you have with others, and if someone brings up an off-the-wall topic that you've spoken with someone else about in the recent time frame, sure sign of a bug. Cell phones can also be bugged these days, and you don't have to click on any links or answer any calls to have it happen. You need cameras for sure, and enforcers for your doors. Check the screws on the wall part of your door. If they're the short screws, then reinforce with long screws. Amazon also sells gadgets that go from door handle to floor and will make it harder for anyone to get in. If you have a sliding glass doors, put a 2x4 in the slider where the door is shut to prevent entry. Do the same with your windows if possible. Keep faux bats in every room. Baseball bats for their grill. Protect yourself. Document everything. I still don't leave my home with less than 3 self-protection items on my person in different locations. Pepper spray is worthless, by the way. I doused the crap out of him one night and he was still able to get a hold of me and sit on me before it started affecting him. He could have killed me in the time it took. When walking through parking lots, keep your shoulders back and your head on a swivel. Make sustained eye contact with anyone that makes you feel off. You got this, but you have to do the heavy lifting right now. The universe will take care of the rest. And the OP responds saying, car seems to be clear of anything else, as is my apartment. Had a friend search them up and down with me. I don't think there's anyone in my past who would do this, so I think it was someone I'm not close with or a total stranger. I also have a gun that I always conceal carry except on campus. I trust it over pepper spray any day, but I have no choice but to invest in non-lethal for work. I'm sorry to hear you had such a horrible experience. And another commenter says, the invisible man is highly suspicious, and you should definitely report him. Mask, hairnet, hoodie, and sunglasses in a non-public area, not giving good reason to be there, is huge cause for concern. I suggest a doorbell and dash cam camera, and get someone you trust to walk you to and from your car at work. The random woman incident may or may not be related, but you did the right thing to remain cautious. The window knocking could also just be idiots, but again, you are right to ignore it just in case. And then the OP makes an update post nearly 2 weeks later, which reads as follows. Hey everyone, I am alive and well, but not exactly relieved. I got a lot of great advice on my first post and wanted to let you guys know what had all happened and what I've done. It's been a lot. The 2 incidents that I and the most everyone else were concerned about were the tracker and the office visitor. First off, the owner of the tracker in my car has been identified and is totally harmless. I called Land Air Sea, and they told me that it was, in fact, the car dealership's device that somehow kept getting unplugged and plugged back in. I guess they assumed it was mine every time it was serviced. When I initially called them in December, the dealership swore up and down it wasn't theirs, so I'm really irritated that they were so adamant in their denial. The Land Air Sea rep I spoke to was very understanding as to why this would be concerning, and even said he was surprised the police didn't subpoena the company when I reported it. Regardless, that at least crosses the tracker off the list of issues. As for the office visitor, it's unfortunately an ongoing concern that has escalated. I called campus police last Monday, March 9th, and they explained that my director had reported the guy to them already the day before I made my first post. Police didn't tell me much aside from the fact that his behavior seemed extremely unusual and that he disappeared once officers arrived at the building. They gave me the usual spiel about how I should call the police for a police escort if I feel unsafe. I had to get the rest from my director and one of my staff. Apparently, this guy had not only been hanging out around the building, but had been lingering for a long time on the bench just outside my office. I can't see it where I'm sitting. At various points throughout the week, including when I was there. I also cleaned out that coffee machine thoroughly and put it back in the room. Doesn't really look like he messed with it. He came back Friday, March 13th at almost exactly the same time at the previous week. By a stroke of sheer fucking luck, I was already in the back conference room before he saw me. I snapped the attached picture of him speaking to a male staff member at the desk and quietly locked myself in my director's office. He was working remotely again. I called campus PD and texted my director. I could hear the man and my staff talking briefly about the guy, and he left immediately. He didn't linger like he does with me at the desk. Both the arriving office and the division leader, my director's boss, whom my director alerted, arrived quickly and knocked on my door, obviously concerned. The officer communicated to me that he will be found and trespassed. He has not shown up in our public trespass warning records, so I guess that went nowhere. That wasn't the end of it. This Monday, March 16th, we were expecting severe weather, so campus was closed and remote work was permitted. My director, however, decided to work from the office. He saw the man again, but this time he was accompanied by 4 or 5 other men in the halls. My director is a very large man, so they scattered quickly when he barked at them to leave. He told me all of this in my one-on-one with him on Tuesday, March 17th morning. I still feel extremely uneasy about his apparent fixation on me, or at the very least, my office, and that he returned several times in alignment with my schedule. I've been having my boyfriend escort me to and from night classes and my office, and will leverage a police or male staff escort if he is ever unavailable. No activity from this man since Tuesday. Since making my first post, I did some work back at my apartment as well. I asked the management office if my unit or building had a history of drug crime or any other reason it would be a point of interest, or at least more so than any other unit in an already not so great neighborhood. The manager is a different one from when I signed my lease back in May, and she found no notes about crime or suspicious activity in that unit. I did remember that I sometimes get mail addressed to someone who I presume is a previous occupant, but nothing in my OSINT repertoire, which is open source intelligence, or IT intelligence, came up with anything suspicious for his name, arrest records, obits, socials, etc. I've also purchased some pepper spray, set up a Ring camera. I totally forgot I had one from when I moved in, and should be receiving a stun gun and window cams from Amazon soon. Planning a range date with my boyfriend to put a couple 100 rounds through my Glock as well. But yeah, that's the less than comforting update to this whole situation. At least the tracker is out of the way, but I'm still so on edge with this guy and apparently the group he is/was in. I'm worried about what will happen if I run into him again, let alone that whole group. I don't know what else to do besides literally never be alone ever. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, I would see about permanently working remote from home. If not an option, then your office needs to start locking its doors and letting people in by appointment only. They are not taking enough precautions to keep you safe, in my opinion. What happens if the next time there's a group and you're alone or they're armed? This is serious. It doesn't seem to be handled as such by your company. Please update as you can and sending all of the good vibes your way. And then the OP responds to this saying, I was actually working remotely quite a bit before executive leadership started getting huffy about office culture and showing up for our students last year, so our remote options became very limited. University policy dictates that every office in our division is meant to be open to the public, and it's going to be basically impossible to convince higher-ups to budge on that. The office door itself is a push bar. You can see the end of it in the picture, and it doesn't lock from the inside. Basically, if a staff member is in the office, anyone can get in. Another user says, is there CCTV outside of your building? Maybe they can track the guy from where he enters the campus. Also, can I ask what kind of department you are in? Is there anything in your work that could be contentious or divisive? I saw your other post, and this sounds really scary. Please update us and stay safe." And the OP responds saying, "It's a very standard and non-contentious office you'd find in any university. Think along the lines of admissions and enrollment. A lot of our buildings have poor external coverage, but great hallway and stairwell coverage." And then someone recommends that the OP gets a big dog, and the OP responds saying, "I unfortunately don't have the time or resources for a big dog. My Shih Tzu will have to do as a burglar alarm." And then a user comments underneath that, replying to the OP saying, "A small yapper is an excellent alert system. I'd also suggest running through scenarios in your head if they do attempt to breach your apartment. Does your BR door lock? Does it open inwards or outwards? If in, good. Next, think about the heaviest piece of furniture you have to barricade it. Make sure it's slidable. Amazon sells these door locks that are easy to install and provide that extra level of security. If you Google Defender high security door locks, you will find it. For under $20, it's really effective, and we installed on our MBR door for extra peace of mind." And the OP responds saying, "Bedroom door locks and opens into the room. In December, when I first found the tracker, I panicked and brought in a living room chair to press against the door. I can't do a whole lot of drilling since I rent, unfortunately, but as an extra layer of security, my boyfriend has been sleeping over at my place a lot, and I've slept at his on weekends." And then the OP attaches a picture of the strange office visitor, and honestly, we can't see much. We can see it's a guy in gray sweatpants with a red hoodie, but the OP does mention he was wearing the face cover and the hairnet. Very strange, and also sunglasses, so this guy obviously doesn't want to be identified, and very, very sketchy. And that is the last update we have received from the OP, but God, such a scary situation. This guy is obviously up to no good. Who knows what it could be? People are speculating that's a human trafficker or a kidnapper, or just a strange guy that's stalking the OP. But I don't know. Very strange. Obviously, really, really concerning. And I hope the OP is safe. The OP did make a comment like 2 weeks ago, as of the recording of this video, saying, "Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all good." And so hopefully the OP's, good and nothing's happened, but who knows what those guys want. And it kind of sucks we never got a resolution as to who that guy was. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's a human trafficker, a stalker, a kidnapper, or just a crazy guy? And or it could just be nothing. It could just be a coincidence that this guy keeps showing up, but I don't think it's a coincidence. I really think the OP could be being stalked by this guy or multiple people. Super terrifying, but I hope the OP is all right and nothing dangerous or crazy happens to her. Am I being targeted? I'm not sure if I'm being targeted or if I'm just overthinking, but either way, I'm getting a bit scared. I, female, 23, live by myself in a triplex apartment in a major Texas city with a little dog. Today, I noticed some damage in my car, and then the OP links a picture to the damage, and we can see what I assume to be the hood of the car with some scrapes on it, and just some minor damage. I can't really tell what that's from, though. I mean, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weird scrapes. Very strange, but let's continue. Some scrapes on my car. For context, I first noticed the damage on July 6th and pointed it out to my father, who assumed I drove into something. I really don't think I did, because with damage that stark, I would probably have noticed / felt it / remembered it. I told him that I don't remember causing the damage, and I brushed it off as someone potentially hitting me in a parking lot or something. I looked at my car today, and it looks worse. I unfortunately did not take any pictures on July 6th when I first noticed some markings, but I swear there were not this many before. Since July 6th, I've washed and buffed my car. These markings look fresh, and some have a faint pattern. What is also new is the missing circular part on the front of my car and what looks like more damage to the plastic holding my license plate. The circle thing was definitely not gone before. I checked my carport and there is no damage to it, and I have not hit anything. Does anyone have any ideas of what these markings could be? Could be related. I've been receiving phone calls late at night around 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. on and off from a blocked number. It's very random. It happens one every week or 2 weeks, and it happens multiple times a night. Sometimes back to back, but other times with hours in between. I'm not sure if I'm freaking out for no reason or what, but this whole situation has made me feel nauseous. I'm a young woman who lives alone, and nothing has come up on my Ring doorbell at least. Can anyone help identify the marks or have any ideas on what could have caused them? Once again, I don't drink like that, so I didn't black out, and I don't have any recollection of hitting something that could have caused this. The damage looks intentional to me, and I really think something happened again because it looks worse and there's more missing parts. I just came back from a weekend vacation out of state and left my car in the carport and swear it didn't look like that. I'm confused and scared. Does anyone have any thoughts or ideas? Thank you. And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, someone could, though unlikely, be picking your car at night and using it. Some criminals do that to avoid using a car traceable to them. I've seen this once. After parking, take note of mileage and gas level. And the OP responds, thanks for the advice. Another user says, when you park your car for the night, take a picture of your odometer and compare it to the morning. Another user says, who else has access to your car keys? When your car is parked, is the front parked up against something, or is it open space where someone could damage the front of your car? Do you have an ex or a stalker? Do you take any sleeping pills? And then the OP makes an update a day later, which reads as follows. After reading some responses, I can understand that this post can be read as a bit extreme. I want to note that I do not experience high anxiety or delusions in my life. I am stable professionally / personally and socially, and I am strictly going into detail to cover all bases. And then the user makes another edit saying, someone is the Ask a Mechanic subreddit said it looks like tread from a motorbike or motorcycle. Seems like a valid point, but I'm never around those. And then the third and final edit, which reads as follows. I'm pretty sure my car is being picked at night, taken for joyrides and returned. I also smelled weed inside the car, but chalked it up to a skunk. With all the theories, this seems the most likely and is starting to make sense. And then the OP makes another post a few days later, which is titled, Am I Being Targeted? Part 2, and let's get into it. Hey RBI, I'm back with another post on mysterious damage to my car. In my last post, I detailed a situation where I was unsure of where damage to my car came from and reached out for help. I was thinking that someone was breaking into my car, going on joyrides, and returning it to my carport. I presented damage that I know I didn't do and laid out my case. Well, people on Reddit and in my real life convinced me that I was most likely the one to cause the damage. I chalked it up to me somehow blacking out while drinking and not remembering that I did it. I was convinced and put it all to bed. Because of being convinced I was crazy and just blacked out, I didn't get a camera or anything. I really thought I was being delusional and chose Occam's razor. Well, shit. Then comes this morning. I was getting gas and noticed splatter on my car. Upon further inspection, I also found scratches. not paint, it's not coming off, on the area above my back passenger side window. I have no recollection of getting anything splattered on my car or anything like that. I also don't know where the scratches came from. I've never attached anything to the roof of my car and don't ever use that door, so I'm at a loss. Some of splatter got on my window and it had a kind of dark yellowish tint. It splattered and dripped down. But I live in Texas, so it's dried in the heat. I smelled it and it smells bad, obviously, but I have no idea what hot piss that dried on the side of the car smells like. I want to be clear. I am not overly or unreasonably anxious in my everyday life. I do not have any underlying or undiagnosed mental health issues. I do not believe I'm being gang stalked. I'm not experiencing carbon monoxide poisoning. I live a normal life. Am not ever in dangerous or questionable situations, don't do drugs, and ever since the last incident have barely drank, because I was convinced I had previously blacked out. No one has access to my car except me. I lock it up every night, extra sure now since the last post, and I don't ever leave valuables in my car. I do live in a high-crime ghetto neighborhood in a major city, and my car is potentially accessible to anyone because I live on an open public street. At this point, I'm just confused and a bit frustrated. If anyone on here has a history of breaking into cars, please tell me if this looks familiar. I promise I won't judge you. I'm here reaching out for ideas or advice, because I'm really at a loss. In the OP Mix and Edit saying, people are saying cat pee and cat scratches. That's definitely what I'm leaning towards now. And man, the OP is all over the place. Going from, I blacked out, I was driving while blacked out, drunk, to someone's breaking into my car, hot wiring it, and then stealing it and going on joyrides, to just cat pee and cat scratches. And that's basically what everyone said in the comments, so I'm not going to read the comments. Everyone's basically just saying they think it's cat pee or bird poop or whatever, which is interesting, but at the same time, this is just all over the place. So what do you think? Do you think someone is breaking into the OP's car and driving it around? Because still, there's no explanation for the scratches on the hood of the car. Like, that's not cat poop, that's a scratch. You know what I'm saying? Like, that has to be something. So what actually caused that? Did the OP actually black out drinking behind the wheel, or some other crazy explanation for all of these crazy things that we aren't thinking of? So comment down below your thoughts, and yeah, I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. And also, that was the last update we have received from the OP, and this was 9 months ago, so I don't think we're getting an update anytime soon, but yeah, leave your thoughts down below. Somehow, my things always end up where I don't keep them. For the last month or so, my things, stuffs like hair bands and clips or pens, pencils, etc., always end up where I don't keep them. At first, I didn't give it much thought because those are small things, and I might not have been that mindful of them. And when I kind of told this to my mom, she just said, you might just have been irresponsible with them. So I kind of just let it go, though I was very bemused with the whole thing. I am really not a person who is very organized or very obsessed with the placements of my own things, but at the same time, I do know where I keep them. Not the person to keep all their pens in the pen stand, but a person who keeps their pen at least on their desk and won't travel much far after that. I do hope I'm making sense. Around 2 weeks before, something happened, and I haven't been able to take my mind off of it. I usually sleep pretty late at night, and on this day this happened. I was scrolling through Reels, and before I slept, I removed my headphones and my specs, my old one that I wasn't using much at that point in time, and kept them under my bed. And in the morning when I woke up and reached down for my specs, it wasn't there. But the headphones that I placed was there. In the same place, in the same way I kept it. I was confused, but just thought maybe I'm not seeing it properly, and thus I went out, brushed, and wore my other pair of specs, came and checked again, but no, only my headphones were there. I was at this point baffled because I very clearly remember placing them under the bed and near my headphones. So I started searching for it on the floor with the help of torchlight and everything, but I didn't get them. I asked my brother. I live with my brother and my mother, and he said he didn't see anything, and he also helped me search. I thought my brother was pulling a prank on me because he usually has a habit of doing silly pranks like this. But when I asked him, he said no, and that he will never hide my glasses knowing I can't see properly without them. But I still wasn't convinced and thought he will just give it back to me by his own account. But no, it did turn out he really didn't know where my glass is and got quite angry when I kept accusing him of it. And so I was clearly in the loss and had no idea what to do. I then checked the places where I usually keep my glasses, on the shelf, under my desk, on top of my cabinet, so on and so on, but it was nowhere to be found. When I told my mom, she said the same thing she said before. You are just irresponsible and careless with it now that you got a new pair of specs. You are disregarding your old ones. And she tried so hard to insist that I myself would have kept it somewhere else and am searching it for it now. And though I was almost swayed by it because nothing else would make sense, I kept saying that I vividly remember keeping my specs there, and I stood by my point. I then just moved the issue to the back of my mind because I had an exam the next day. Fast forward to 2 days later, where I'm packing my bag for a small trip. While searching for my wallet, I found my specs. The room I slept in and the room I study in are two separate rooms, and they are entirely across the hallway. And the desk I used to study used to be a computer desk that I used for gaming when I was a child, so there is the top of the desk, and there's a sliding compartment where the keyboard was once, and for which I have no use now since I'm not using the computer anymore. And then down the compartment, there is space for keeping my books. I found my wallet on the top of the books, and when I bent down to pick up my wallet, I saw the specs in the sliding compartment, kept at the very far back of it. I really didn't know how to react, and just took my specs and kept it inside its box. Again, when I informed my mom, she told me the same thing, that I would have misplaced it and to let this go. But no, I am not at all convinced that I'm 100% sure I removed and kept my specs under the bed that night, and even if I didn't, I would have never kept it in that compartment. What am I supposed to make of this? And now let's get into some of the top comments. Someone says, the first step, according to Reddit, is to check for carbon monoxide. And the OP says, I'm aware of that Reddit lore, and I can say that I'm in a very ventilated area, so there is no way for this. Another user says, my parents have a dog door to the backyard. They'd keep the cover off at night. They started losing small items around the house. While cleaning, they found a bunch of the lost items as well as a pile of the dog's food under my younger sister's bed. They set up a camera in her room because they thought she was sleepwalking. She sleptwalked in the past. Instead, they saw a giant rat sneaking in at night and storing things under her bed. So maybe a rodent or something sneaking in. Maybe sleepwalk. Another user says, I'd love to say carbon monoxide, but your family would be affected by it too. It really just sounds like your mom is the gaslight type. I wouldn't be surprised if she's moving things around and then calling you irresponsible. Other than that, sleepwalking is an idea. Get a camera, but tell nobody about it in case they are the ones moving things. That would answer your question immediately. Another user says, do a trial. You have to keep it completely secret. Deliberately place one of the things in a slightly misplaced location and take a picture so you'll have a timestamp. If it disappears or is suddenly somewhere else, it's likely that someone is trying to gaslight you. If it's possible to do the trial or repeat it when either your mom or brother is going to be out to the house overnight, even better. And that is the last update we have received from the OP. And what do you think is happening to the OP? What or who do you think is taking her glasses or her things and moving them to strange places? Or do you think it's the OP sleepwalking or forgetting because of carbon monoxide or some other theory? Comment your thoughts down below. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Reddit Threads video. You guys have been loving this new series so far, so I'm going to keep making these Reddit Threads videos as long as you guys keep watching them. And today we're getting into some horrifying Reddit threads. The threads I have for you guys today are horrifying, scary, and you'll just want to stick around because these are actually just insane. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join our Patreon for early access to every single video and many, many more perks that should be in the description. So feel free to join, and no worries if not. And I appreciate you stopping by. Make sure you get comfy, grab a snack, grab a drink, and without further ado, let's get into some horrifying Reddit threads. I believe my brother has been replaced. Originally posted to r/RBI and originally posted on July 4th, 2025. The post reads as follows. I, male 30, want to preface by saying I am not mentally ill. And this is not the schizo post you are expecting. I have no better way to articulate what I'm thinking right now. My brother, male 20, just came back from his gap year, traveling Asia in hopes that he'd find himself. We were never really close, so his lack of contact during this year didn't strike me with too much alarm. But my parents have informed me of 3 separate incidences in which they needed to consult authorities to ask about him. He's a mommy's boy, so this did seem very out of character for him. We hosted a dinner for my brother's return to the country, but upon seeing him at the airport, it was like a stranger tried to draw my brother from memory and pass that as the real thing. He looked completely different. He was severely underweight. He looked 2 to 3 inches shorter. He seemed bed-ragged and unkempt. Believe me, this was the opposite of my brother prior to this trip. He was always been a germaphobe, someone who always washes his hands twice to make sure he eliminates all the bacteria. But this guy, he smelled horrendous. He didn't even talk to us or properly acknowledge our existence. He begrudgingly gave our mom a hug and our dad a handshake. He did not say hello to me. It's been around 2 weeks, and what I've been hearing from my parents is horrifying. Apparently, he's been extremely active at night and sleeping during the day. They can only get faint murmurs out of him, and his speech is becoming increasingly nonsensical. He doesn't shower. He doesn't seem to eat. He spends all his time locked away in his room, doing something, my parents don't know what, extremely loudly. They've already contacted a doctor, and he's on a waiting list to see a therapist. I suggest getting the police involved, but they are determined not to. My mom is afraid, and I do not know what to do. I volunteered to stay over and be the peacekeeper, as our parents are getting old, and I'm personally worried about the psycho doing something to them. However, my parents have too rejected this. I was never too close with my brother, but this isn't him at all. Does anyone know what could have caused this? Or what can we do? It's like someone kidnapped my brother and replaced him with the dude from Castaway. Edit. I've seen a lot of people suggest theories, including drug use or underlying mental health issues. I had my mother over today, primarily to talk about my brother's condition. My wife was against mentioning the DNA test I ordered, so they are still unaware of my suspicions. My mom told me about the 3 incidents involving the authorities in Vietnam. The first one was a wellness check, after my parents heard nothing from him for about a week. This might have been overzealous on my mom's part. The second and third instances were actually a part of the same correspondence, but turned out to be much more disturbing than I thought. Local authorities were worried my brother and 2 other female friends have been trafficked to Laos, as they failed to return to Vietnam on time. However, this was resolved after about half a month. I have no idea the status of his friends, but I suspect they all returned to Vietnam together. With regards to my brother at present, my parents have since agreed to my suggestions of adding cameras to communal areas, as well as installing a door to stop in their own room. They have also given me news that they will go private to seek psychiatric treatment for him, starting next week. We'll keep you all updated. And then some relevant comments under this post. One commenter says, a hard drug addiction is the most likely answer. DNA testing would clear this up real quick. If the result is a match, I'd suggest you seek counseling for both of you. In that case, either he's done a lot of hard drugs and needs help, or you have some tendencies toward delusion. If the DNA is not a match, you've got your hard proof and you can probably get the help you need. The kind of resources needed to pull off the scheme you're describing would make it a very odd way to spend one's time. Finding someone similar looking enough to fool not only airport authorities, but also family has got to be difficult and expensive. If your family is not high profile, I'm talking head of state, Fortune 500 C-suite, or otherwise ultra wealthy, it would not make any sense to pull something like this off. Even then, it's such a crazy scheme, I can't imagine anyone actually trying it. And to what end? An inheritance scheme or something? And then the OP replies saying, my family are quite controversial, particularly for Vietnam, which is mainly why my parents were against my brother's gap year to begin with. I cannot elaborate further on that regard, unfortunately, but there is definitely reason for something like this to happen. Another commenter said, I'm definitely on board with this. Please make sure you get help ASAP. Lack of sleep, hygiene, social withdrawal, etc. It has a tendency to spiral quite fast, and you should really push psychological/clinical help ASAP, not only for his safety, but your parents. It is not something that will pass by itself or can be cured with love. Please keep in mind that voices/visions usually start out quite friendly. What country did he go to? Regarding the height difference, you could easily shrink 2 inches just from terrible posture. Otherwise, it could indicate osteoporosis. Please stay safe. The OP then said, I'm not quite sure of all the countries, but I think Vietnam and Laos were a part of it. Another commenter said, do you mean that you literally think someone else is pretending to be your brother? Or are you speaking more figuratively and think your brother is just acting different? The OP then replies to this saying, it was meant to be figuratively, but I would be lying if I said I was not genuinely concerned. And then the final comment on this thread that is, worth note, reads as follows. Sorry, but he's in your house, doing things in his room loudly, and you can't go and check on him? What the fuck? Break down the door. What the fuck are you doing? Do your parents own the house, or does your brother? Remember that instance of that stupid mother who basically left her son to his own devices as he constructed a guillotine in his room to commit S-word, and the mom never saw the inside of the room because of privacy? Time to get a backbone and step up. He almost certainly is not making decisions behind that door that are good. Do what you need to, not what's comfortable. The OP then replied to this saying, my parents are in their 80s, and while they're very firmly against my interventions, they seem to give him a free pass. It's a sticky situation all around. Plus, I'm personally afraid for my parents in the event they stand up for themselves. And then the commenter replies to this OP's comment saying, wait, they had your brother in their 60s? And the OP then said he was a surrogate baby. And then the OP, 2 days later on July 6th, 2025, made a chilling and horrifying post. The post was titled, Family Member Missing. Location, France. Hey all, I'll keep this query as brief as possible. My brother has disappeared. My parents only noticed this morning, but it is likely he fled sometime last night as we booked psychiatric treatment for him on Tuesday. He is seriously unwell, and on another thread, people have claimed his condition might have been exacerbated through drug use. We don't want the police involved. We don't want this to be a public affair, as our family can't afford it right now. We live in a semi-rural town near the Swiss border, so we are hoping to find him before he hurts himself. How can we go about finding him? Any help would be appreciated." And then the top comments on this post read as follows. One commenter says, "You do want the police involved. Trust me." Another commenter says, "I understand not wanting to get the police involved, but there's no other choice. I've read your other post about him, and he might not only be a danger to himself, but also to other people. You shouldn't delay contacting the police any longer. Nothing good will come out of that. Best of luck, man." Another commenter said, "Based on your other post, you absolutely need police involved. You are worried that this can become public, but it'll be worse if he hurts himself or others. Once he is found, you need to commit him immediately." And then there's an update post. An update to "My brother has been replaced." Posted on July 10th, 2025, 4 days later. The post reads as follows. "Hey all, I thought I'd share an update. This will also be my last post on this site, and I want to say a quick thank you to everyone who commented. To those who provided genuine help and support, I could not be more thankful. My brother is dead. We found him in the early hours of this morning, and I've spent the rest of the day finding the courage to make this post. Maybe it's shock, but I'd like to think he died over in Vietnam. And upon his return, his body was simply catching up, rather than prolong his torment. You all do a wonderful service here, so please keep doing what you're doing. All the best." And some relevant comments on this post read as follows. Commenter, "I'm so sorry for your loss. Take some time away from the internet. Take care of yourself and your parents." The OP then responds to this comment saying, "They are a lot more devastated than I am. I think it's because they view the past 20 years to be a waste. I don't view it this way. My brother lit up every room, and every moment I had with him was cherished. However, I do also believe this moment was inevitable since he returned. In a weird way, I'm glad he went out on his own terms rather than endure what could have been years of pain." Then some other comments read as follows. "I remember your other post. I'm so sorry for your loss. It sounds like, at the very least, you may have started to grieve him some after seeing the state he was in upon his return. I hope you find peace with what happened, in whatever form that may be. My heart goes out to you and your family." Another commenter said, "In addition to being sincerely sorry for what grief you and your family are enduring, I also want to say that it's because of you, your brother, and the experience you shared about his return that I just called a couple of buddies to set up visits with them this weekend. I've really been feeling like each of them have been receding and struggling quite a bit and are in need of a visit from a friend. And having just made those calls, I'm now terrified what might have happened if I hadn't come across your posts and been moved to action. No matter what may or may not have happened, if I didn't reach out to my buddies, just know that your candor and your brother's struggles have probably had some potentially life-saving effects for a couple strangers." And the final comment I will read reads as follows. "We wish you a lot of strength in these hard times. No idea what he went through over in Vietnam, but it must have been soul-wrecking. Take time for yourself and your family, because this will leave a big scar." And the OP has since deleted his account. And wow, this was one of the most disturbing and depressing Reddit posts I've read in a long, long time. I mean, there's just so many questions, and it seems like the OP has so many questions. I mean, number one, I just hope the OP is doing better now and can deal with this and just his entire family. I mean, I can imagine. But I just have so many questions regarding what happened in Vietnam and when he was abroad. What happened? Was it drug use? Was he kidnapped and just traumatized to the nth degree? Or did something else happen that no one else is considering? I really don't know, and I really hope that, I don't know, his family finds some, solace in these horrific times that they just went through. But yeah, that truly shook me. I mean, I couldn't believe that final post when he said his brother passed away. I mean, just wow, that hit me so hard. And I just wonder what happened to him. I mean, that's so terrifying that his brother left and never came back the same. Do you guys have any ideas? If you do, comment down below. I'm really, really curious as to if you guys have any decent ideas of what the fuck happened when he was abroad, because this was truly a disturbing post. On to the next one. OP is certain her upstairs neighbor is stalking her through unknown means. Originally posted on r/RBI and originally posted on July 8th, 2021, and her original title reads as follows: Video proof. Upstairs neighbor stalks me. Yes, I know what you're thinking. I've had a psychological evaluation, can supply proof to mods, 10-minute compilation video, 90 plus pages of time-stamped incidents, and my carbon monoxide detector works fine. Before watching the video, please be in a silent room. Use headphones. Turn volume to maximum. Person in the unit above. Background: me, single, black, female from the US. Her, single, white, female from Ireland. I can't even begin to describe how unbelievable and frightening this situation is. It started shortly after I moved into my apartment on September 1st, 2020. My therapist picked up on the fact I seemed uneasy and asked if I felt safe. At the time, I had not tuned into my surroundings much, but realized she was right and I hadn't been relaxing. I'd soon learn why. Inexplicably, my neighbor above would follow me from room to room and hover over me. For example, if I'm in my bedroom, she will already be in the room above it. If I get up to go to my kitchen, she will tail behind seconds after. If I go back to my room, she will do the same, sometimes stomping. She's literally my shadow. For the first few months, she did this nearly every single time I got up to do something, even during more intimate moments, like taking a shower or using the bathroom. Dumbfounded, I asked friends if they'd ever been able to hear their downstairs neighbors. I've never heard them in past places and can't hear those below me now. I took detailed notes for a week before, realizing things weren't a coincidence. The first person I told was my therapist. She encouraged me to seek out an evaluation, and I did. Not having any history of such illnesses, I never doubted my observations, but still wanted to rule out the onset of something like schizophrenia. I'm fine in that regard. It sounds crazy, but for the longest time, I've suspected there might be hidden cameras in my apartment. There have been too many things I've done that she's reacted to that wouldn't be possible without seeing me. And honestly, hidden camera crimes will become more frequent once people realize how easy they are to get on sites like Amazon. They're already an issue in places like South Korea. Why I think there's more to this. She never, ever leaves her apartment, and until May, never appeared to have any visitors. Those visitors were some of the tenants on my floor. They moved out last weekish. When I complained to the landlord in October, kept it vague to not seem insane, he told me maintenance was never able to get into her unit. He also said 2 people lived there and that 1 was unemployed. Said he would talk to her in person, which I didn't get as we were still in lockdown. Landlord then went MIA and hired property management. Her roommate secretly moved out last year. All the tenants on her floor moved out by June. All units in the building are on September leases with the exception of 1. One of the tenants on her floor had a roommate who appeared to move out during the middle of the year. Someone left a bottle of bleach square on my doormat. And then there's an image. This has racist connotations, and bleach/acid attacks are not uncommon in Europe. I suspect she might have done it. I cannot hear the tenants below me, and I could barely hear those next to me before they moved out. The only sounds I rarely hear from my upstairs neighbors are her stomping, smoke alarm, and when she first turns on her shower. This isn't an installation problem. Never got a signed copy of the lease. This has caused me a significant amount of fear and exacerbated my medical issues. I've lost months of work and have spent nearly a quarter of my lease living with friends. I live very much in fear this person could harm me as they are fixated on me 24/7 and never, ever leave their apartment. This is an extremely strange situation, and given how folks in my periphery have behaved, I believe someone knows something. I can't keep quiet about this any longer in fear she might do this to someone else. I'm hoping that by sharing this story, the community might be able to help me with the following: identify places where cameras can hide, / detecting different types of cameras, Wi-Fi enabled, SD card based, etc. Any help with this would be much appreciated. Thank you for your time. And now I'm going to play the video, and I'm just going to play bits and pieces of it because it's like 10 minutes long. So here it is. What's your thoughts on this? You can faintly hear the footsteps in the background, but here, take a listen. And then the OP replies to some questions in the comments. The first question being, does she still follow you from room to room if the lights are completely off and it's dark in your apartment? I find it odd that she follows from room to room if she's watching you with cameras. Maybe she has a tablet with a live feed that she walks around with? Try seeing if she follows you when she shouldn't be able to see you. And then the OP replies saying, yes, she still follows me even when it's dark in my apartment. I only ever really have one light on because of this. I even shower in the dark. I've wondered why she follows me if she can remain stationary, but I suspect it's because she might be trying to prank me with this. Also, I assume there's a desk right above my bed. I hear her as she gets out of a rolling chair, and I'm in my room much of the time. So that could potentially be a viewing location. That tip about the car is clever. Unfortunately, I don't have one, but thank you for your helpful comment. And apparently the OP took the upstairs neighbor to court, and someone in the thread said, what did you take her to court for, and what was the outcome? It sounds like there's some history between the two of you. Is she bitter or trying to get revenge? The OP then replies saying, I took her to court to try to get her to stop stalking me. I didn't have video evidence at the time, just my logs. The judge denied the order for 2 reasons. Number 1, he said I could not prove a motive. Number 2, she tried to claim her roommate might be the one harassing me, as she, the stalker, works at a physical location. The truth was that her roommate secretly moved out months prior, and my stalker is always home. And then someone else comments asking, can you explain your interactions with the neighbor at all? And the OP replies to this comment saying, I only had one interaction face to face, and that was when I confronted her before taking her to court to see her face. If it's something I've done to her, I would be none the wiser. I've had 2 people witness some of it, but she toned it down quite a bit when they were here. Even if I whip out my phone to record, she'll stop following me. The police in my area are aware, but just not about the possibility of hidden cameras. I didn't want them to think I was insane and have me committed against my will. I'd be happy if they could come take a look, but not sure if that's within their domain. And then she continues talking about some other stuff, and then back to some more relevant stuff. She says, back in November, I went up to her floor asking why she'd been stopping deliberately all the time. I was going through a lot and just wanted this to stop, so I was bluntly asked. I only confronted her so that I could match her face with the one I saw on her social media profiles to make sure I had the right person. At first she denied it, but when I told her she'd be getting a letter in the mail, she immediately went quiet. When I went downstairs to my unit, she stomped above me once very loudly and didn't bug me for the rest of the day. The next day or so, she left her apartment and didn't seem to return until a few days after the hearing. And then the OP starts giving updates as to what she does after this original post. The first update reads as follows. Thank you so much to everyone who responded. Feeling supported and validated has been overwhelming in a good way these last few hours. It's been a long road dealing with this, and I'm not sure what happens from here. At the very least, it might expose a new way people are able to stalk others. On the surface, her actions seem comical, but her methods are worrisome. I also appreciate the skepticism from some posters because even through all of this, I have to maintain some as well, if only to preserve my sanity. I wasn't able to test for cameras last night as she stayed up as late as I did, so I ended up falling asleep. I will try again tonight though. My friend has also just arrived this morning, and I'll keep this thread updated. Second update. Thank you all once again for commenting. I'll try to get through as many comments as possible to help provide more info. My friend has been working at my place since this morning. I have largely stayed in my bedroom while she has been in another room at her computer. We've noticed the following. When my friend was setting up her computer in the morning, my neighbor came above us briefly before walking away. When I left my apartment for a little over an hour, my friend said she came above her, stomped for a bit, then stayed mostly silent. She did not follow my friend around, but my friend said she was mostly at her desk and didn't really walk around. When I returned to my apartment, I took a shower. My friend and I heard my neighbor above, near my bathroom, as she stomped periodically throughout my shower. She is above me in my bedroom as I type this. Largely uneventful stuff, but we're keeping an eye on things. I've seen a few comments asking why I'm waiting until nighttime. Given some of the advice about detecting IR light, I figure waiting until it's dark as possible would be ideal. It's also quieter, so I can listen for any sounds. I'll update later once my friend and I do a search. Thank you all once again for your help. And the third update reads as follows. My friend and I spent the last 2 hours removing light fixtures, checking outlets, small crevices, little holes in the walls, etc. We did not find anything conclusive, but we will search again after dinner. We'll be in the apartment. Fourth update. We searched again and did not find anything. Thank you all for your helpful comments regarding finding hidden cameras. I'll do one last check tomorrow, but still not sure what to make of the situation. Fifth update. A kind Redditor helped me get my cameras back online and check to make sure no unknown devices were connected to my Wi-Fi. To give more information on these searches we did this weekend, we 1. Removed light fixtures and checked for anything out of place, inspected the many holes in the walls, crevices, etc., checked the vents, outlets, fire alarm, etc., turned off all lights and used our phones to check for any infrared lights. We did not find anything, which I'll admit gave me some peace of mind. I know that it's an unbelievable scenario, so maintaining some skepticism is definitely key. I have a few next steps in mind I'll be pursuing. Once again, thank you all so much for your help, comments, and skepticism. If anything of note happens, I'll create a new thread to update RBI. Have a great week. And then some relevant comments that the OP was replying to. One commenter said, looking at this logically, if there are cameras in your apartment, it means that either someone has come into your apartment and hardwired cameras into every room of your house, or that someone is regularly coming into your apartment to swap out batteries. Do either of those options sound likely to you? And the OP then replies saying, your reasoning is very sound, and I too have thought about how unlikely such a scenario might be. If there are cameras, I doubt they'd be battery powered as the harassment is so persistent. If they're hardwired, how could that happen? I don't see anything obvious, so this too becomes difficult to prove. Believe it or not, her following me around occurred nearly every time I got up to do something the first few months. I'd leave for a few hours daily, always around the same time, and come home around 5 or 6. I assumed she did whatever in those time periods, but when I was home, she'd be fixated on me. The part about her staying up is also true. I know it sounds crazy. I've tested this countless times, changing my sleeping schedule. Yesterday, I was up later than usual, replying to comments and looking for an opportunity to search, but she would stop every so often, which is how I knew she was still awake. I'm not sure what this person does, and I being someone who is very introverted, even this perplexes me. I have no idea why someone might dedicate so much time to harass a perfect stranger. As your last question, there have been too many incidents to think this is all in my head. I understand your concerns because it's easy to make a mountain out of a molehill. In some sick way, I hope they exist, just to prove that this isn't all in my head. Thank you for your comments, and I'll make sure to keep some skepticism in mind. And then another comment reads, I don't know what to think except you should trust your gut when something is off. And then someone else replies saying, nope, Believing you're being stalked is one of the most common delusions there is. It's so common. It contributes to the mishandling of cases by police when someone is actually being stalked. Stalking, especially by people you don't know and strangers, is even less common event. Entertaining this stuff is why actual targets end up being killed. OP has offered nothing to support their claim, but has posted many comments that show mental instability, like at the top of this post, implying that things got weird after posting and that there's a new way to stalk them. This person is in a crisis. And then the OP replies to this comment saying, "The weirdness I mentioned was a series of strange texts I got from an unknown number shortly after I made the post. I was also up until 3 a.m. and woke up around 6 a.m. to see that my thread was gone. I spoke to a mod who thankfully added it back. Turned out to be an auto mod. I was pretty nervous after posting the original thread, since I'm doing this so publicly for the first time. So I was worried there was a connection." And the OP has never been heard from again. So what do you think happened? Or what do you think was happening? Do you think the OP was mentally unstable? Do you think the upstairs neighbor was mentally unstable or just playing a weird prank? Or just like, what do you think was happening? Because I have no clue what was going on with OP and what she was going through. In the video, you can hear it. You know, it's very weird. You can definitely hear the footsteps, but why would the upstairs neighbor just follow directly above her downstairs neighbor, the OP? So weird. And please leave your thoughts down below and let me know what you think, because I'm kind of stumped. I have no idea what the upstairs neighbor was doing. Very, very creepy. My husband killed someone and can't cope. Originally posted to r/true off my chest. Posted on July 28th, 2023. The post reads as follows. 5 months ago, a woman purposely walked in front of my husband's truck. He struck her and was killed. Much like the people who killed their family before committing an S-word. She was so selfish, basically taking him with her. He quit on the spot. His employer should have recognized that he was in distress and given him some time off instead of accepting his resignation, but they didn't. I'm 8 months pregnant, and before someone says, "You shouldn't have kids if you can't afford them," I know. We are in a world of hurt right now, and it's only going to get worse. The accident brought up bad juju from an accident 10 years ago where he lost his wife and son. He has anxiety that he didn't have before. He goes to therapy but hasn't driven since the accident. He would rather walk in 100-degree heat than get behind the wheel. He has driven trucks for nearly 13 years. It's all he knows. I know mental health is so important, but we are at a dead end. I won't insult him by acting like I know what he is going through or what he is feeling, but we can't afford for him to grieve any longer. I have been telling him for the last month that we are running out of money. We have less than $100 to our names, and our pantry is bare. Life can't wait for him to get ready. I don't know what ultimatum I can give him that will snap him back to reality, but next week, we are going to be living on the street. We are on a month-to-month lease because we don't have the best credit, so if we don't pay, we are out. I've already pushed our car payment back as much as I could. We've used our get-out-of-free-jail cards, used all generosity from our family and friends, and I've exhausted local resources. I work full-time in a salon and simply don't make enough to support us. I try finding odd side jobs, but I'm limited until after I give birth. I don't want to come off as insensitive, but he needs to go back to work. We had a small savings that we have been using, but that money is gone. My husband insisted he help out the woman's family with final expenses, which I was against, but he did it anyway. He feels guilty. And I feel like the worst bitch wife in the world saying all this, but I can't do this alone. And then she gives an update. Update number 1, posted on August 12th, 2023. My husband committed S-word in front of me. This happened a few days ago, and it's a cruel, twisted irony that I made this Reddit asking how hard I should push him to go back to work. My last post was about how we were going to lose our place because my husband couldn't recover after a woman stepped in front of his semi 7-ish months ago. I said it was like she took him with her. Now he is actually gone, and it's not even the same. Before I get some assholes asking, why are you posting right now? I don't know what to do. I notified his family. After my last post, I pushed him to try to get his job back, and they took him back with open arms, which was a huge blessing and surprise. When I called his boss yesterday to tell him my husband wouldn't be coming back, he told me that the company would pay for his funeral. He had been with them for nearly 10 years before he abruptly quit the day of the accident. He needed therapy and time off, but thought the easiest thing would be to quit and try and handle it alone. If you have people in your corner, and if you have resources available to you, please use them. Did you know if someone unalives themselves in your house, you are responsible for cleanup? If you are renting and don't have renter's insurance, it's on you. I'm 8 months pregnant, and I'm being induced next week, and I can't even go inside my house. I contacted the church we had been to on and off, where we got married, and S-word is a sin, so no help there. I think I was too hard on him in the last few weeks. I had let the stress build up and didn't tell him how bad things were until it was too late. He thought, oh, she can handle it like she always does. We have to stop thinking like that. And I mean anyone who is reading this, because I'm sure you do it too. I brought up adoption because who would choose to bring a child into this world being poor? This is what a lot of comments told me, and they were right. I'm being induced next week, and I don't even have a clean environment to bring a baby into. It's the last piece of my husband, and I don't know if I deserve to raise him. I know I might have seemed like an asshole about my husband. I was/am just stressed. But he was a good man who deserved to be a father, and he deserved to be here. He just didn't see that, and I think I'll have a broken heart for the rest of my life. If anyone is in my area who wants to sit on the curb and drink lukewarm bottled water with a stranger, my DMs are open. If you're struggling, please get help. You are not weak or less than. Mental health is so important and serious. Please. Update. Wow, I can't keep up with the comments. For privacy's sake, I'll just say Illinois. I have a lot of places to call, so then you, to every single kind, comment, and message, I won't say I'm okay, or that I will be anytime soon, but I'm safe. And then update number 2. Posted on August 23rd, 2023. Titled 8 pounds, 5 ounces, and 19.5 inches. This is an update to those of you who asked on my last post, so I hope it's okay that I do so. I had my baby boy this past weekend. 8 pounds, 5 ounces, and 19.5 inches. I wanted to share the news because when I texted his family the day he arrived, I was told they wanted to know nothing about him and didn't want to see any pictures. Heart-crushing is an understatement. Trying to sign up for survivor benefits and WIC while also filing out life insurance paperwork is surreal. I just hope it's approved ASAP. I'm keeping my baby no matter how hard it'll be. I never thought I'd be sending my husband to heaven and welcoming his boy within a week of each other. I want to believe they somehow crossed paths up there because the thought of him not meeting or never knowing his precious son is unfathomable. And I just hope that the OP is doing better now. I really hope the OP is doing better now, and her son are doing better now. And God, this one also hit me like a truck. God, this video has just been full of, depressing threads. Hopefully not too depressing for you guys, but yeah, this is some hard stuff. And just like the OP said, if you or anyone else you know is going through anything, it's better to talk to anybody than keep it within. Please just talk to somebody if you're going through something. It can get better, and it will get better. That's all I have to say, and on to the next one. Found an abandoned car in the woods, and it looks like something bad maybe happened. Originally posted to r/RBI. First posted on December 1st, 2023. I found an abandoned 1999 Honda Civic in a forest on the Nevada/California border, California side. Normally, I wouldn't think much of an abandoned car, but this just looked like something bad happened. The trunk was popped and items still inside. These items were a box of diapers, a sunshade for a pram, an infant-size winter jacket, a plush toy for an infant, and an open envelope for a paycheck from a business in Reno. The envelope has a name, address, and employee ID number on it. There was a baby carrier in the back seat, which luckily only had some trash in it and not a baby. The other things in the car was just some food and drink trash and a sock that was baby-sized. All the baby stuff was pink/girly, so I assumed the baby was a little girl as well. The name on the envelope was female as well. The car had the license plate removed, the lights and radio removed, as well as the back tires removed. Outside the car was an empty box of diapers, a high heel hanging from a tree with the sole torn up, and the matching across the clearing on the ground, and a mound of fresh dirt between the shoe tree and car. I took photos of everything, and I wrote down the VIN and the name and address on the envelope. I wandered around the surrounding area of forest a bit more, and I found a pile of women's clothes strewn about on the ground maybe 100 feet away into the tree line. These clothes were not winter appropriate. Looked like it was underwear, a bra, and some shorts. Seeing the clothes started to give me some worry for what may be the situation with this car if it's connected. I ran the VIN number through an online search, and the number doesn't come back as reported stolen. The other things that unnerved me were that everything was dry and mostly clean compared to the surroundings. We've had consistent rainfall, and the ground was muddy, yet the diaper box on the ground was dry. The cardboard didn't seem to have been rained on or anything, or even absorbed much water from the mud. The contents of the trunk were also dry and fairly clean, which seemed wrong given the fresh mud and consistent rain. The exposed metal from where the tires were removed also has not rusted yet. The car also was neatly parked in the clearing and not on the road like it got stuck in the mud or snow. I called all this into the police, gave them photos and GPS location and Forest Service road number, but I've heard nothing back. The county this forest sits in is pretty small, so I don't know if the police have the resources to even check the car out. Given that the car seemed to be freshly left there and a child is involved, I want to get some closure that whoever this belonged to is okay and this is just a stolen car left in the woods. Does anyone have advice on what I can do to get more information on what happened? I will admit this forest has always given me unnerving vibes, so maybe I'm reading too deep into this, but I do want to make sure nothing worse happened to whoever owned that car and the baby. And then the OP gave us an update on December 2nd, 2023. The post reads as follows. I hope I'm doing this update correct. I have good news, y'all. This was luckily best case scenario, and my update is mundane. With the help of other users with far better detective skills than me, we're able to track down the individual's Facebook page. This has been confirmed to be the individual who owned the car. She is safe and her child is safe and well. She's active on Facebook, and I contacted her with information on where her car is. She had posted about it getting stolen in early September, and no one else had stumbled upon it and told her until I did. Thank you to everyone who helped guide me to find her and help her find her car. I'm very happy this was just a creepy find and nothing more than theft. I have 2 weeks to get away from my husband. Originally posted to r/off my chest. Originally posted on April 27th, 2024. Throwaway account, as my husband and in-laws are following my main account. I, 29 female, have been married to my husband, 30 male, who I'll call Alex. Alex and I met in college during our freshman year. We started off as just friends and got married 7 months ago. I've gotten along with his family, but we aren't super close, but we're friendly enough. The problem is that Alex has begun to make me incredibly uncomfortable. Firstly, he's begun to ask me who I'm meeting with, where, what we plan on doing, how long every single time I leave the house without him. At first, I just thought he was being protective and a good partner just in case something happened. But then he started checking my phone after the visits, vetting and researching each of my friends as well. He also has been pursuing me to link my bank account to his, as he's in charge of the finances when he was perfectly fine with keeping them separate before. We fight about it almost every day. Finally, yesterday, When he was preparing to go on a work trip for 2 weeks in California, he demanded I wear a tracker so he could keep an eye on me while he's gone. I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm suffocating, and his family, who I've spoken to about his worrying behavior, just said he's being careful and protective as a good husband should. I need to gather my things together and find a way to be gone before he gets home without tipping him over. He's always threatened that if he ever found me cheating on him, he'd turn in divorce papers the same day. He keeps a filled out copy in his desk. I'm going to submit those the day I leave, but there's so much to do. Begin finding a new place to live, seeing if my job has any transfers available, packing and moving in 2 weeks. His return flight, May 11th, so I need to move quickly. I'm posting here because I don't have any close family, and I can't risk dragging my friends into this as we share the same friends. I just needed a place to vent, and ask if anyone has any advice on the easiest and safest way to do this. Edit. Oh my god, you guys are amazing. I never even thought to not use his divorce papers. I'll check for cameras before I start any packaging or prepping. I may also shred his divorce papers just in case and look into getting a lawyer for myself. I'm in no fault divorce state. That much I so remember, which will help. I'll update again when I know more. The tracker he wants me to use is a small clip to put on my belt or waistband. I'll wear it unless I'm going or doing something related to me leaving. No pets yet, thankfully. And then the OP gives us an update on April 28th, 2024. The update reads as follows. So, I've gotten a lot of support and helpful advice along with questions I thought I should clarify before I proceed with the update. Some asked why I'd be hiding things from Alex regarding going out and who I'm meeting with. I don't, and I have nothing to hide. However, when he begins to then double check everything I tell him with the other people there, right down to each person I talked to and what I said. Did I send any text messages? Did I order food? How much did I eat? That's when it started to feel like I was slowly being pushed into a corner. It didn't start that bad, but gradually grew worse over time. All of the Reddit subs my in-laws' families are a part of related gardening and DIY, so I highly doubt they'll see this. If so, by the time they do, I'll hopefully be gone. I talked to my job and explained things to my manager, and they promised to look into openings in other states to see if they could get me into one. They'll have an update on that in 3 days. I trust that my bank account is secured, considering he's tried to get into it before and failed. I found one camera in the kitchen, another in the living room, and one in our bedroom. As such, I've left them in place for now and done all other planning, either in the bathroom pretending I'm taking a bath. I'm honestly staying away from the domestic violence services, as my sister-in-law is unfortunately higher up in those considering she volunteers there, and I have a feeling if I did show up there, they would know in a heartbeat. I can't look for apartments until I get the update from my work, but either or, I'm still going to be leaving the state. The day before I do, I will be changing my number carrier and wiping my laptop and all of his electronics before I do. I've met with 2 lawyers so far and had them look over the paperwork. My husband had prepared and both said that it did have some clauses in it that could have caused me some trouble down the line. What alarmed all of us was the fact that several of the clauses dealt with future children and not as a hypothetical. Like several hair suggested, I have a feeling he fully intended on getting me pregnant to keep me trapped and tied to him. There are 3 other locations my job could send me to, and I have, as a precaution, begun looking into all 3 cities and housing in the areas. Just in case one of those, this is the one they send me to. Even if they don't have an opening, then they can push me into, then I will just have to quit, move, and figure things out on my own. I have enough money to live and survive for a few months until I can pick up another job. Unfortunately, all of my friends are mutuals and would likely be unaware of the consequences of saying or sharing anything I do or say with my husband. I don't have any surviving close family, and obviously my in-laws are not a good resource to rely on. I am on my own, unfortunately. Other than the wonderful bonds I've begun to make here, I will update again if I get more information or something else happens. Otherwise, I'll update when my work gets back to me. I do plan on leaving before he returns though, just to make sure that I'm not anywhere near here at that time. Update 2, April 30th, 2024. Good news. My work has an opening I qualify for that will not only shift me across the country, but also comes with a salary increase as well. I've started telling my in-laws and friends that I'm planning a surprise outing for when my husband gets back for just the two of us. This way, people don't give me odd looks if they see me out and about. I've even gone as far as asking mother-in-law to show me his favorite recipes. Meanwhile, I found a moving company that, while small, is willing to work in a storm. The reason is in 5 days, we're supposed to get hit with a large storm front. I plan to shut off the breaker and say we lost power if he asks, just as several people here suggested, and even send him a short clip of the storm. I will have all of my stuff moved that afternoon, and I will be flying out once the weather has cleared enough to do so. I have a lawyer who will push my divorce through, and I filed out the necessary paperwork so that I don't have to be here for it. I'm not suing for assets or alimony, and I've shredded his divorce papers as well. I've set up a cheap payphone plan through Cricket until this is all said and done, at which point I will find a new carrier, number, and phone. This one is being wiped and left behind. My laptop is provided by my work, and the IT department inspected it thoroughly, and it was clean, thankfully. No other electronic aside from my laptop, and new phone will be coming with me. If Alex needs to talk to me, he can do it through my lawyer. Not sure if anything else will happen. My fingers are crossed that he doesn't think anything's amiss until after I leave. And I'm not turning the breaker back on when I do. He can when he gets home. My work is covering the plane ticket, so that at least is one expense I don't have to finagle in. Update 3, posted on May 7th, 2024. I have 2 weeks to get away from my husband. It's been a busy week, but I've gotten so much done. Firstly, I am now out of the house and am currently in a hotel while I look for an apartment. It's a big city, bustling with people no matter where you look. We had a pretty bad storm system hit back home that actually lasted 2 days. High winds, thunder, lightning, and even hail everywhere. I didn't take much from the house: my documents, clothes, and important sentimental items. I left all the furniture and electronics behind. I cleaned the house top to bottom and took pictures on my phone so we couldn't claim I damaged anything when I left. My lawyer has already started divorce proceedings, and my husband will be served on the 8th. His plane is due to land early morning, and the sheriff will be there at the house waiting for him. He is very much about public appearances and reputation. My lawyer will be calling him out as well to inform him that I am more than willing to air out everything to the public about his actions if it means securing my freedom from him. I will go to court as long as I must to get this pushed through. I haven't told our friends or his in-laws yet. I will do that while he is on the flight to prevent him from getting wind of it before he's handed the divorce papers. I'll be calling around and explaining why we're getting divorced, to try and prevent him from twisting this into somehow being my fault. I don't want him trying to claim I had an affair or something, so I want to get the truth out before he can twist this. I'm doing okay. I'm tired, but yet I feel almost jittery and off kilter. I keep looking over my shoulder and monitoring what I say, even when I don't really need to anymore. Hopefully, that will fade soon. My work is covering the cost of the hotel, and I'm working on getting my other things in order. I also need to find a new GP, as I want to get a full test just to make sure everything's okay. I don't know when my next update will be, probably when the divorce papers are filed, or if we have to go to court to push them through. I'll try to keep my head up, but it feels like I'm in a whirlwind of something with so many things to do and think about. I kind of thought it would be easier once I got out of the house, but while the fear is smaller, somehow the number of tasks only seems to have grown. And then the OP makes a 4th update, and this is the final update. Posted on May 14th, 2024. Sorry, I haven't updated for a while. Things got hectic and a bit chaotic, honestly. Firstly, I'm working on getting an apartment still and have applications in at 3 different places, and will hopefully hear back from them soon. I'm still going into work here at the new location, so I don't have to worry about burning through my emergency savings completely. I've gotten a lot of emails from Alex, his family, and our old group of friends asking question after question. I have only sent one return email to Alex explaining that I don't believe we are truly compatible, and it is best we separate now. That his treatment of me when I'd done nothing to deserve as such was just as much of a deal breaker as cheating was for him. I ended the email with the statement that I would not be contacting him further, and anything else he needed to pass on to me or vice versa would be done through my lawyer. For his friends and family, I just typed up one email outlining everything that had happened and why I left. I told him that I wished them no ill will, but that such treatment of his wife and partner was not acceptable. That should Alex get remarried in the future, I wish they would help support both partners and not just Alex. Alex, from what my lawyer told me, was livid when he was served. The sheriff actually ended up booking him for assault on an officer and menacing due to the threats he was shouting. His father bailed him out in a few hours, but with the testimony of the sheriff, my lawyer believes I have a very good chance at getting a restraining order. Alex, upon returning to the house, apparently lost his temper again, breaking the dining table into pieces as well as the TV and putting several holes in the walls. At least that's what one of the emails from one of our friends reported, as Alex called him to help him clean up the mess. My lawyer already has pictures of the house I took with timestamps as evidence. Nothing had been damaged by me. My friend reported that Alex tried to claim I'd been the one to trash the house, but the holes in the wall were at head height. Alex is 6'3" and I'm 5'4", so he knew that was false. Either way, taking the pictures definitely will help me, so again, thank you for everyone here for the advice, because I never would have thought of that on my own. My work won't share details of where I am, as I do work with some higher-end clientele who value security, and that information won't be gossiped about, and no, I'm not some stripper or escort. I deal with contracts, notary, and business management. As such, even if Alex tried to use my work to find me, he wouldn't succeed. And that was the final update from OP, and this is just a good lesson. If you are in a relationship where things are not going great, or your partner is abusive in some sort of way, you can get out of it. You're not stuck in it, and you can get out of it and improve your life. And it's scary. Luckily, the OP, got out all right, and hopefully the divorce went quick, and they are now separated. But yeah, scary stuff. On to the next one. OP's dad went missing, and the police are being hostile to her attempts to get answers. Dad missing since June 1st. And the post reads as follows. Yesterday, I found messages in my spam folder on Facebook Messenger from one of my dad's friends concerned about him. She sent the first message on June 8th. Then June 10th, she and her brother went with the police to do a welfare check. Once I found these messages, I immediately tried to call the number she left, but saw on her Facebook that she died on June 13th. Through my investigation, I found that she was found unresponsive by the same brother that visited my dad's with her. When she went with police on June 10th, they found that his car door was wide open, key in the ignition, battery dead. His front door was unlocked, and he and his dog were nowhere to be found inside. Police went again yesterday after I called. They had to cut the lock to his gate, and they found the same scene. It's a remote property, and he let it get really grown over. A search is happening today. This just seems weird to me, but maybe I'm trying to make sense of nothing. My dad has been missing since June 1st. I don't really know the kind of company he kept either. Just hoping to get some more brain power to help me churn on this. Edit. Yesterday, I went up and spent the day at my dad's property with search and rescue teams. They brought dogs out and searched for hours but came up with nothing. The lead investigator took his laptop and cell phone and is working on getting into his bank accounts. Last recorded activity from my dad is officially May 30th. They reported him as missing, and if no leads come from what they've got, then he'll be transferred to missing persons in a couple days. I'm not as concerned about the brother anymore. I found out the woman and my dad met on a dating app. He was apparently very popular with the ladies on there, and they had a bit of a tumultuous relationship, as it goes when dating several people at once, I imagine. She was in poor health, and I confirmed that from a voicemail I heard from her where she sounded terrible. She apparently died from pneumonia. My dad had some angry voicemails from his girlfriends. One in particular was super angry, and followed up with another voicemail about how her new boyfriend didn't want her hanging around my dad. That's my new top interest. My dad is 58. Edit 2. The police are still scanning his laptop and cell phone, so no updates here. His latest bank account activity was May 27th. Apparently, the police didn't even listen to his voicemails on his house phone, his main phone. So I went back to record those and to drop off a key to the investigator. I'm reaching out to a lawyer soon because I don't really know how I'm supposed to maintain his property. I did talk to the brother that went on the first welfare check with the now dead woman. He was very willing to talk with me. Someone wrote back to me from the deceased woman's account and warned me to be careful with him about the brother. I said I was sorry for her loss, and she told me that the woman had a lot of people fooled. I got her number and need to follow up on that. Seems like a mess. And I know my dad recently purchased vehicles from that family too. Currently, I'm trying to figure out who I can trust in this shit town. Everybody keeps warning me that nobody can be trusted, and it's left me feeling paranoid and alone, so I'm trying to balance getting the word out and also protecting his property. I really appreciate everyone's advice and support. I'm surprised at how wonderful you all are. Edit 3. No real updates. I've been frustrated at the county's lack of follow-up on the 2 viable leads. His latest love interest and the guy who went on the welfare check number 1. They also haven't gotten all of his bank accounts subpoenaed returned yet, so we still don't have access to his large bank account. I blew them up about this Monday, and they hung up on me, and I called the supervisor back, who invited me down to come sit with them. They basically sat me down to say that based on his medical history, they think he probably just walked off and fainted. It's not illegal to just walk off. I continued to mention the mysteriousness around his car and home were left. They mentioned all the hogs and bears up near his land. They also mentioned how busy they are with the cases that actually have bodies. Very tasteful fellas. They're also hypothesizing that when his dog died, that was his last straw. Still doesn't explain where the fuck his body is. Seems like they're trying to construct the depressed man walks off story, not the man using dating apps disappears story. Still have yet to get an attorney or PI. It's on the list. Everyone is really good at telling me what I ought to do. Meanwhile, I'm just wishing I could call Dad and talk with him about how crazy his fucking town and his friends are. First update. Well, I just wanted to thank all of you for your support on my last post. Unfortunately, Dad and the dog are still missing. Technically, his last activity was May 28th, where he was active on Facebook Messenger. The police still have his phone, laptop, and wallet. In fact, they've been logging onto his Facebook account and really confusing his friends who then believed he was back online. The most interesting update has been with the owners of the neighboring land. Dad would have them brush hog his land, and he actually didn't have running water for a couple of weeks. Still doesn't. And his thinking was that they hit a water line when they were doing some work. Last myself and my uncle talked to him, he was trying to get them to repair it, but it didn't seem to be going too well. So he has several jugs of water in his shop and was showering at a friend's place. Would be a miserable way to live. I reached out to them for more information on that. Also regarding the neighbors. The husband came by to meet me on July 2nd when they did the second welfare check and searched his land. He told me that he was friends with all the police if I needed any help getting information from them, as he owns a lot of acreage in the county. Red flag number 1. He also told me that he had recently killed a bear that supposedly charged him. Yeah, right. And had apparently dug a grave with a backhoe to bury it. Red flag number 2. The police know about this and have used it to try and convince me about the possibility that an animal harmed him. Most recently, however, the wife of his neighbor had reached out to me about renting one of the properties on his land. Dad wasn't living there, and it's a really beautiful home. They had wanted to buy it from him for several months, but he always said he would move up there after his dog died. She was old and smelly. He also had another family interested in buying the home, but he was very protective of it and wanted to keep it for himself and for me. How fortuitous of them that now Dad is out of the picture. Red flag number 3. The wife has been corresponding with me on Facebook Messenger and has offered to get me in contact with her attorney. No thanks. And she also wants first dibs on buying the land once that's an option. This was a huge shock when I originally received the message. On one hand, it's fortunate that I could maybe have tenants keeping an eye on his land and living in that beautiful home. The rent income could be used to pay his property tax, among other things, and it does make sense that they would want to buy the neighboring land. On the other hand, that is a motive if I've ever seen one. Dad was stubborn and wouldn't give up the land to anyone, and now he's out of the picture. This family has been really helpful and kind, but it just feels sketchy. I've acquired an attorney from a different county because my relationship with the police has turned very tumultuous. I've been frustrated at the pace of everything, and I've been very vocal about my disappointment. I've begged for access to his phone and laptop so I can follow up on the leads, but that's an absolute no. They've apparently met with the state police and FBI, but I haven't heard any updates. In fact, the county police asked my uncle, Dad's half-brother, if he would be their contact person because I'm so difficult, to which he refused and insisted I remain the contact person. Thanks, Unc. They're extremely dismissive and constantly talk over me, and every call I have with them is a conference call with at least 4 people on their side. Very frustrating to say the least. They printed me a flyer of his missing persons case, but I haven't been able to find it on any databases myself. They said this is because I'm a civilian and it's a long process. Whatever. My attorney is thinking through the possibility of renting and also contacting the police about the bear grave. His angle is to see the bear's stomach contents. Smart, I thought, without being too accusatory. I've been getting a lot of questions about an update and thought it was time to post one. Let me know what you guys think. I so appreciate this community and found so much support here. Thanks for letting me air this stuff out and get some educated options. Most of my friends have been avoiding the subject like it's the plague, and it's left me feeling a bit isolated. And now onto the final update. About a week ago, I got a Facebook message from the neighbor's wife that a work crew had just found some human remains doing some work about a mile from my dad's. The sheriff and investigators went to retrieve it and called me later that day to let me know they were sending it back to the lab to compare with my DNA. Honestly, I wasn't expecting quick results, but I just got the call that these remains match my DNA and are thus 99.99% my father. A complete testing report will be sent to me when it's done. I don't really know what to say. I just had a lot of support from the sub. At the times, I was feeling so overwhelmed, confused, and untrusting. So I owed you all an update. Part of me is grateful that I won't have to maintain his 31 acres for another 3 years, but part of me is just sad that my dad spent his final moments without me. I guess this is closure in some ways. Not sure if my questions about what happened to him will ever be answered. Thanks for reading and caring about me and Dad. You folks really offered me some light during this time. Shoe print outside my daughter's window. Originally posted to RBI. And here are the images the OP linked with the post. Some shoe prints, I guess, outside of her daughter's window. Scary stuff. The post reads as follows. So I believe someone is trying to look into or break into my kids' windows at night. This morning we got up, and this little Tice cozy coupe car was under my kid's window with this shoe print on it. And the picture, I'll just attach here. Yeah, crazy stuff. I am at a loss and pretty scared. I have called the police and put up a camera both outside and inside. The window was opened, and since the window leads to a closet in between bedrooms, there was a toy shelf in front of the window, which was pushed out and away from the window and wall. I have suspicions that it was our neighbor, who has always given us a bad vibe. We have a fenced-in yard, and he watches my kids over the fence. Told the 4 and 5-year-old girl that he loves them right in front of me, and then asked if he could babysit in that same sentence. Jesus Christ, that wasn't even part of this. That is crazy. Oh my God. I just have to interject through the story. Told the 4 and 5-year-old girls that he loves them right in front of me, and then asked if he could babysit. Oh my God, that is stuff of nightmares. Holy shit. Anyway, sorry for that. Let's keep going through the story. He always talks about how beautiful or adorable they are. Oh, yikes. I know the print is hard to see and tried to put multiple pics in hopes one was okay. I really appreciate any info or advice here. I'm truly scared. The kids will not be sleeping in their rooms until this is resolved. This is one of those it'll never happen to me situations, and I'm lost. Edit. If you have any questions, please ask. I'm at work, but we'll answer ASAP. Again, thank you so much. And then the OP leaves an update. Small update. I wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who commented with advice and ideas about what kind of shoe/boot may have caused this print. I feel a bit calmer knowing I'm doing the right things by adding more cameras, window alarms, and motion lights to that area. I feel awful that I inadvertently left that window unlocked and jeopardized my kid's safety. My excuse is that it's a closet and never used, but that means nothing and it should have been locked. I've taken a ton of advice here and will also set up some noise-making traps, so if someone does get in, at least my dogs will hear it and bark to wake me. The kids will continue to have a slumber party with me until this is resolved. Last night was fun with snacks and movies, but I would expect it won't be fun for long, lol. Several people advised getting a fire alarm. Given my negative history with guns, I unfortunately will not be doing that yet. I'm not ready for that, but do have pepper spray and have always done some kickboxing as a hobby. I'm not disillusioned to the fact that whoever is doing this may be stronger and faster than me. I have spoken with my kids about our plan on what to do in the event someone gets in the house and feel pretty confident that they will act and not freeze. We have roleplayed it over and over. I hope it's the right thing to do and will help them. They all feel safe with me, although my confidence in keeping them safe has taken a huge hit. There were a few very compassionate and kind commenters who helped very much with that and made me feel like I will be able to fight this and keep my kids safe. Now, last night, the camera only caught a spider and a squirrel, so nothing yet. I will absolutely update if anything big happens. I tried to reply to every comment, but definitely missed a few. I can't thank you all enough for your ideas and advice, and especially the time you took out of your day to comment and help a total stranger. And then some notable comments under this post were, OP, this might go without saying, but I feel like it would be worth having a very clear conversation with your kids about this man and never going with him. If he's at the point of breaking into a window while y'all are home, he's probably on the look for opportunistic situations in which the kids aren't by your side. He might try to bait them onto his property or vehicle, and I worry they would trust him, as he is a neighbor and familiar face and someone you've been semi-cordial with. I just want to second and add on to the excellent point above. Kids are so freaking smart. They already know something is going on anyways, and telling them the full and awful truth can really help them. Not only now, but in future scary or dodgy situations. They will know their parents are not only on top of dangerous situations, but are honest with them when it really matters. And it's really important in that their parents trust them to be mature enough to be filled in on important adult things. And then the OP makes an update post about 6 months later. The OP's post reads as follows. I am back with an update. I apologize it took so long and wanted to thank everyone again for being so helpful and kind in my last post. So I put up a camera on the side of my house my daughter's windows are on. It did not take long for me to catch my neighbor opening my gate on that side of the fence and coming into my yard. I got him several times on video. Oh my God, that is so terrifying. I got chills all over reading that. That is so scary. But anyways, the post continues as follows. I got him several times on video. It's so weird, you guys. In a few of them, it looks like he is looking for something in my yard. And in one, he seriously waved at my kids through their window. It was like 1 a.m. too. Oh my, that is so scary. Holy shit. That is insane. This is actually the stuff of nightmares. I mean, I'm not a parent, but like, if I knew that some dude was staring at my kids through a window, oh my God, this is actually like terrifying shit. Anyways, let's keep reading. I obviously called the police, and the officer that came was so helpful and nice. When he saw the video of my neighbor waving at the kids, you could see him get very upset, and he was absolutely appalled. I really felt like he wouldn't blow off my concerns and was nervous about calling. The officer went over to the neighbors and spoke with him. Apparently, the neighbor was super apologetic and said he was looking for golf balls in my yard. He had no excuse for waving at my kids. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, he did not get arrested because he never tried to get into the window. He just came in the yard through the gate and walked around and looked and waved through the windows. The officer did not at that point tell the neighbor that he was caught on camera. He just trespassed him and told him to stay away and never open my gate or go into our yard again. About a week later, I get a notification at about 2 a.m. saying motion was detected. He was in my backyard. I called the police again, and the same officer came out and arrested the neighbor for trespassing. I still don't know what the neighbor's intent was. The police don't really know either. The neighbor does have a record of domestic violence and such from about 16 years ago, but nothing more recent. Since the arrest, the neighbor now knows I have a camera over there and hasn't been back. It was so scary, but everyone is safe. Until I can move, my guard will be up and so will my camera. The kids do feel safer, and we put up some cute window film stuff that allows us to see out of the windows, but nobody can see in, even at night. I also installed some window alarms, so if any of the windows are opened, an ear-piercing alarm goes off. They tested it and are confident it will wake us up, lol. So for now, we are okay and safe, but we'll always be watching and being a bit more cautious with the neighbor. It's winter, so we have not crossed paths with him, but when spring comes, I'm a bit nervous about having the kids in the yard and him talking over the fence. I'm putting up another camera that faces towards his house so I can watch the fence, and if he's watching or trying to interact with the kids while they play in the yard, I have proof and can call the police again. Thank you all again for all the advice and well wishes in my last post. You all definitely helped me feel validated in my concerns and not crazy. Without you, I may have thought I was an overprotective crazy person and pushed my gut feelings aside, so for that, I owe you. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. And wow, that is such a scary post. I mean, luckily everybody's okay, and hopefully the OP can move out of the house soon. I wouldn't want to stay there with that crazy neighbor, and it's crazy he only got trespassed. I mean, why can't you get arrested for being a creep? But yeah, that is so creepy, so disgusting, and hopefully nothing else happens or happened. I wish the OP the best, but wow, that is just creepy. My elderly mom is on hospice, and her new friend gives me a bad vibe. Originally posted to r/RBI. Originally posted on January 12th, 2024. The post read as follows. I cannot for the life of me figure out why I feel like this, but all of my spidey senses are tingling on this woman. Here's a bit of background. My 40 female, elderly mom who's 70F, has been quite ill for quite some time now and is on hospice. She was living in an independent living space where it was all elderly people in apartment type units. She has been living there for about 6 or 7 months and made a few casual old people friends, but mostly kept to herself. So I thought. A couple weeks ago, my boys and I were visiting my mom. We live right down the street and visit often. When a woman walks up to us with my mom, I extended my hand to introduce myself to this woman when she dismissed the handshake and instead went in for a hug and said, "Oh, I only do hugs for family, and we're pretty much family." Okay, a little weird coming from someone I've never met before, and also never even heard a single mention of her, but I pretty much brushed it off thinking to myself that she's probably just really lonely or something. I asked my mom about this new friend, and she just says that they met there at the old people place, and she's been a really good friend to her. Great. I love when my mom has friends. It's important to have friends, but this woman just keeps giving me weird vibes and I can't pinpoint why. A few things that seem odd to me. Number one, my mom is moving to a more traditional apartment complex this weekend, and this new friend liked the new apartment complex so much that she decided to move to the same place as well. Her apartment is not ready yet, but she'll be moving to the same complex as my mom next month. Number two, she apparently bought my mom's dog a I have the world's best auntie sweatshirt for Christmas. They had known each other for maybe 2 months at that point. Number three, she called the other day too. I don't really know why. I guess to give me her phone number and more formally introduce herself to me. She talked about doing a lot of care, taking stuff for my mom. Oh, I can manage her medications for her if you want. So I replied that while I appreciate the offer, there's a lot of controlled medications and hospice prefers to keep minimal people involved in the medicine stuff, and that taking on caretaking responsibilities for a friend can get exhausting, so it might be best for them to just focus on being friends rather than wearing herself out trying to take care of her. She immediately went to my mom and made it sound like I was shit-talking my own mom, saying how she's just an exhausting person, blah, blah, blah. When I confronted the new friend about going to my mom and relaying our private conversation in a totally twisted way, the friend lied and said that my mom had grabbed her phone and read it all in the text messages. It was over the phone, and not at all via text messages. When I pointed out there were no texts, she just kind of stumbled, and I dropped it because I knew it wouldn't get anywhere. And finally, every time I talk to my mom on the phone, I can hear this woman telling her what to say or adding comments in. And none of it is outwardly worrisome things, but it feels like I can't have any conversation with just my mom. I'm a very trusting person who generally tries to see the best in people. And this woman has not given me any concrete reasons to doubt her intentions and has in fact been very friendly and polite to me in all of our interactions. Nonetheless, I can't shake this feeling that there's something wrong here. I sat my mom down yesterday and had a conversation with her about my feelings towards this new friend, and she didn't get defensive at all, but disagreed with me and said that her new friend is just being kind and offering to help with the stuff because she knows my mom is not the most organized of people and could use the help. I begged my mom to please be cautious and to take the friendship slow and to keep it simply as a friendship and let me, her actual family, handle caretaking stuff. Despite no changes in medications, my mom has been more confused lately and comes across to me like she's overtaken medication, but I only can give her one dose at a time and the rest is locked up at all times, so it isn't that. But just to be safe, since she's more confused lately, I took my mom's credit and debit cards so no one can take advantage of her financially. Reddit, please help me figure out what this woman would have to gain in coming between my mom and I if it isn't medication or money. I don't know how to do a background search or if that's legal for any random person to do. But I did look this new friend up on a couple websites, and all I learned from that is that she has a lot of also known as names, but I can't find anything else. I'll pay for a background search if anyone has a recommendation for good ones. We're in California. Does any of this raise any red flags to anyone else, or am I just being too overprotective of my mom on this? Oh, I almost forgot. I called one of my mom's oldest and closest friends the other day and asked her if she's met his new friend, and if so, what was her impression. She said, honestly, I don't know why I feel like this, but I just get a bad feeling about her. I just feel like she's up to no good. Hearing this made me feel better in that I'm not the only one to pick up on something, but I don't know what, if anything, to do about it all. And then the OP posted an update on February 26th, 2024. The post reads as follows. Thank you so much for all the responses and heartfelt advice. I'm so sorry to have been MIA for so long after I originally posted, but it's just been a lot. I needed to take a beat to take it all in and deal with the punches from real life that kept coming my way. Immediately after I posted that, I went to talk with my mom. I explained my concerns, and she agreed to the 2 cameras I put up in her apartment. On moving day, I was out of the apartment for a few minutes taking my kids back to my house when I logged onto the camera app to test out the settings. I overheard my mom and the friend talking about me. It was not very nice and very much seemed like the friend was just teeing things up to come between my mom and I. My mom was playing right into it. The friend, I'll just call her Fran to make it easier, was gone when I got back to the apartment, but I got into it with my mom. I was crying, telling her how hurtful it is to hear my own mother participating in a negative conversation about me after everything I do and have done for her. She cried, I cried, it was awful. But at the end, I had at least convinced her that Fran was up to no good. Mom agreed to create some distance between her and Fran, and she immediately told Fran that her behavior towards me was not going to fly any longer, and all talk of anything to do with me was off limits. Fran seemed to understand and blamed her behavior towards me on some flimsy excuse that I didn't buy for a second. All was calm for a week or so, when one morning I called my mom to check in on her, only to find out she was with Fran out running errands. When I pushed for more information, I uncovered that Fran had taken my mom to the bank so that my mom could obtain a new debit card. Oh boy. Fran very much knew I had taken my mom's debit card with my mom's blessing because my mom was having episodes of increased confusion and was not aware of who or what she was spending money on because my mom had forgotten she had given me her previous debit card. That was the final straw for me. That night, I sent Fran the following text message. Hi, Fran. Mom told me about you guys going to the bank today to get a card, and I just wanted to let you know that I know I know my mom appreciates your friendship, but that I do not appreciate you're getting involved yourself in things you have no business being involved in. Mom and I have her finances under control between the two of us, and we do not need any assistance getting her squared away, no matter how well-meaning. She's asked me to take her card again, the new one, and has put me as the main account holder so I can be sure she has access to what she needs, but no one else does. I want to believe you're coming from a sincere place or just wanting to help my mom, but it complicates friendships greatly when you get into financial territory. I handle all of my mom's finances and medical stuff, and it's working for us that way. My mom very much appreciates having you as her friend, but she doesn't need a caretaker. I've got that covered. If you sincerely want to be her friend, you need to take a 10 giant steps back and check yourself regarding how you are coming across to me. Because from my perspective, it very much looks like you were dancing precariously close to the elder abuse line, and I'm sure you wouldn't want me to get the authorities involved here, but that's exactly what will happen if things continue down this path. Fran then responded with some BS reply akin to, "Oh my word, I would never take advantage of anyone, and I just wanted to help your mom, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and I think you and I have gone off on the wrong foot, daughter, which is my fault, but I'd like to start over again, more blah, 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 blah." I never replied to Fran further, and she has, shockingly, not really reached out to my mom since. I believe she is due to move into the apartment complex this weekend though, so we shall see if she pops back up out of the woodwork. I think she understands that I see through her attempts to come between my mom and I, and that she'll need to focus her efforts to scam people somewhere else. I notified my mom's hospice nurses and her social worker as well. I also bought a really super cool medication dispenser. I won't name it because I'm not plugging anything, but feel free to reach out to me if anyone has family members that they need some help managing medications for. It's expensive and probably cost prohibitive for a lot of folks, but it has been a game changer for me to keep my mom's medicine safe and organized. That it is locked up and syncs up to an app, so I get notified every time it dispenses a medication. That made me feel much better about Fran not having any access whatsoever to my mom's prescriptions, but the trip to the bank showed me exactly what Fran was after. I notified the bank that if Fran is with my mom, they are to contact me immediately. All in all, I think most of you were correct. Fran was using my mom for money, or she was trying to, but luckily I caught it before much damage was done. I think I've made my position on Fran clear to her, which is why she's staying away. I think I still need to contact the independent living facility about my concerns with Fran because, I swear I'm not making this as, my mom says that Fran is going to be working at the independent living facility after she moves out, and I don't want her being in a position to take advantage of anyone else. Thank you again to everyone who replied and reached out to me with resources and or advice. I read every reply, and I actually read a number of them to my mom as well. It really helped her to see Fran for who she really is. And then the OP left us with another update, posted on September 30th, 2024. Thank you to those who keep checking in with me, asking how my mom is doing, and if there's any updates. My mom is still in hospice and doing okay, all things considered. She has her good and bad days, but she's been mostly lucid lately, and I'm grateful for that. Fran has been mostly MIA. Thank goodness. Ever since I told her, in no uncertain terms, to beat it. The only time I have heard from her since was when my mom's phone wasn't working and Fran called me and left a message wanting to know if my mom was okay. I left her on red. So that told me that my mom hasn't cut her out completely, although she tells me she has, but I have, with my mom's blessing, taken control of any avenue Fran could possibly use to take advantage of my mother. I alerted the hospice nurses and social worker, and I let Fran know that I had done that as well. My mom also finally made some better friends who live nearby, and they also helped keep an eye on her for me. I did not go to the police as I didn't feel I had a case to do so, but I did let Fran know I wouldn't hesitate to do so if given reason. If Fran comes back around, my mom, or gives me any reason to think something is up, I'll update you all to let you know. But as of now, my mom is safe. I handle all her medication as well as her finances so no one can weasel their way in to try to take anything at all away from my mom. Thank you to everyone for your care and concern. And then some relevant comments. Someone says they want our pills. And the OP then says, I thought the same thing, which is why I locked them up tight. My mom agreed to a camera right over her dispenser so we can keep eyes on her medications at all times. The machine I got her is pretty cool too, and alerts me via text if the machine door is ever opened. Not that it could be because it has a passcode on it that even my mom doesn't know. So there's a lot of safeguards in place to ensure no one gets into any of the other stuff. And I think this story is a great reminder. Just be careful who your family is surrounded with, who you're surrounded with. I mean, you never know who might take advantage of you for this, that, or the other reason. So just be careful. And if you have a gut feeling, it's usually for a good reason. And yeah, there's a lot of bad people out there. So just keep your head on a swivel. And if you have a bad feeling, it's probably for a reason, like I just said. But anyways, on to the next one. Who could possibly have spare keys to my house? Originally posted on r/RBI. Hello, would just like to mention that I'm posting this from my side account. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. I moved into my first house in February. I'm mortgaging it, living in the UK. A couple months after moving in, I would pick up on odd things. For example, the doormat being halfway across the entry hallway after I came home, or misplaced items such as the TV remote, the garage remote, my vape going missing after I left it on charge before heading to work, and I still haven't found it to this day. That's not all. At first, I was worried that I may be having memory issues until I noticed more obvious signs, like food being eaten that was left on the countertops, or my bed pillows being indented as if someone lay on it, in the rug under my bed being a third folded over. Most recently, and what made me order security cameras, was when I was sick and off work. And I can swear to you, when I was in the kitchen, I heard the doorknob jiggle and the rattle of keys. This was a couple days ago. I've bought some inconspicuous looking cameras online, but I don't know what to do from here. I'm scared of catching someone wandering around my house. What do I do if I catch someone? I'm seriously dreading it. Any advice is welcome. Even some reassurance, honestly. I don't have any friends or family, so I feel a bit alone in all this. It's all a bit shit at the moment. Also forgot to add, I did call a non-emergency line after I heard what sounded like someone trying to come into the house when I was off sick. They didn't help much and asked if I have camera footage of someone trying to get in, but I didn't, especially since nothing was stolen or damaged. There wasn't much of a case. I did request to put in a statement, and that was it. Just an edit. Hello again. Thank you for everyone for all the advice. My cameras have arrived, and I will be putting them up with the help of a friend later. I've called the local locksmith and have an appointment with him to change my locks this afternoon. I will update you all if anything else comes from this. And then the OP gives us an update. Hi. Thank you for everyone's help on my previous post. After installing new cameras on Sunday, along with getting my front and back locks changed, I feel nervous, but secure. Monday afternoon, I checked the footage and found nothing amiss. However, on Tuesday afternoon, I did catch a man trying to get in through my front door. When he realized he couldn't get in, he tried the back door, which I stupidly left unlocked. I didn't think anyone would climb the fence and the hedging to get through, but it's clear it wasn't his first time. He went inside, sat on the sofa, my bed, ate some food I left out. He definitely did not look homeless, and I've never seen him before. The footage was then sent to the police, and they're trying to locate the man. They even put out a Facebook post on the police station's profile with screenshots, saying they want to speak with the man. I was told they're going to try to hang out around my home for the next few days, and if they see him try to enter again, he will be arrested. So I'm staying with my mom now, as I can't shake this dread that this man has been letting himself into my home for however long. I don't think I want to live there anymore, in all honesty. And then the OP gave us a final update. Not too long after my previous update post, my ex reached out to me. I tried to contact him a few days prior, messaged him a couple times on WhatsApp, and he ignored the messages, though he was online multiple times. I wanted to ask him if he ever made spare keys to my home before we separated. and I explained my current situation as a reason to why I'd be asking this. He sent me back a message, nearly a week later, asking to meet up. He wanted me to come to his home, but due to some previous events that led us to separating, I said I'd feel more comfortable in a public place. When we met, I asked him again about the keys. He quite plainly replied that yes, he did make a spare before he gave me my key back, but has claimed that it was a while before we separated and said that he had lost them some time ago anyway. My ex is not a very good liar, and in all honesty, I don't understand why he even asked to meet me in person, because once his eyes started darting around, I knew he was lying to me. I pressed him some more and showed him the Facebook post from the police's page. He looked at the CCTV screenshots of the man for a few minutes. I also showed him the actual footage I had of the man coming in and out. After a few minutes of silence, in what I assume was him weighing his options, he told me that he believed the man in the footage and screenshots was his uncle. I had to press a lot to get anything else out of him. He eventually showed me a picture of his dad and uncle, and I can safely say that is most definitely the uncle that was coming into my home. I asked my ex how the uncle got my keys, along with other questions, which he would not answer a lot of them, and just kept repeating, "I don't know, I don't know." Shortly after that, he got up and left. He would not answer any messages or calls I made in the following days. I asked him if he'd be willing to speak to the police and tell them about his uncle, but he has not been cooperative at all. He wants nothing to do with this. I have spoken to the police since and told them what my ex told me. However, they would need him to willingly give a statement himself, which he refuses to do. The little I did find out was that his uncle is homeless, so I don't even know how they'd go about finding him. My ex has not spoken to me since the last time we met. He clearly doesn't want anything to do with this whole situation. His uncle has not been located anywhere, either. He's not been back since, and the cameras have not spotted him for nearly a month now. I'm back at my home now and have a security alarm system installed. My mom has been staying with me and using this time as an excuse to redo my back garden. I genuinely don't know what to think at this point. I'm just happy he's not been back since, but I am increasingly frustrated with my ex that he won't speak to the police, because they can't do much without his statement identifying that he knows the man in the footage. It also doesn't help that the uncle is homeless and doesn't have an address or job to his name. And that is so scary. I hate the idea of someone living in my house and me not knowing. That is like literally the scariest thing I can imagine. And I hate stories like this because they're so scary to me. Literally my worst nightmare. And if you thought that